Chapter 1. Rumble. The thunder seems to still be ringing in her ears, and Mayan wakes up from her trance. She can't help but let out a painful groan from the burning pain in her body. She slowly opens her eyes, only to find that she's lying in a small, pitch-black, enclosed space. The tip of her nose faintly smells a medicinal fragrance. Where is this? Mayan tries to operate the internal force in her body. A pre-celestial practitioner can see things even in the dark. However, suddenly, a bone-piercing pain hits her. The meridians in her whole body seem to be torn apart by a scalding force, about to break apart at any time. Ah! Mayan cries out in pain and falls down. The severe pain makes her whole body soaked in cold sweat. What the hell happened? She remembers that she had just reached the pre-celestial Great Circle. Her good friend Gong Qinshue found a body-forging pill for her, helping her to attack the first realm on the path of cultivation, body forging. Qinshue accompanies her to Thunder Peak. Under the operation of her internal force, the ninth heaven's thunder tribulation comes. Mayan clearly remembers that she withstood 8 bolts of heavenly thunder. She only needs to block the 9th bolt of heavenly thunder, and she can advance to the body-forging realm. But soon after, she feels a sharp pain all over her body, and she faints. Could it be that she failed to cross the tribulation? Mayan is panicking, when suddenly a glaring light shines from above. She reluctantly opens her eyes, and when she sees the beautiful face that appears above, she immediately calls out in surprise, "Qinshue." However, Gong Qinshue doesn't greet her with her usual smiling face. Instead, she looks down at her with disdain. Mayan feels that something is wrong. She looks around, and finds that she's in a pill furnace. And Gong Qinshue's face is poking in through the hole above the pill furnace. "Qinshue, what's going on? Could it be that I failed to cross the tribulation, so you're thinking of a way to treat me?" Gong Qinshue stares blankly at first, then she can't help but laugh. "Jun Mayan, you're really more stupid than a pig. Even now, you still think that I'm doing it for your own good." What do you mean by that?" "What do I mean? Hee, do you think I gave you the body-forging pill to help you survive the lightning tribulation? Fool, I'll tell you the truth. That body-forging pill can indeed help you transcend the lightning tribulation, but it's laced with poison. When you experience the 9 bolts of heavenly lightning and start to temper your body and soul, the poison will take effect. Stop joking around." Mu Yen struggled to get up. Her voice was hoarse and anxious. "Qinshue, I know you like to play pranks on me. This is fake, right? Didn't you say I'm your best friend?" "Best friend? You're just a lowly girl from an inferior country. Do you think you're worthy?" Gong Qinshue sneers. "Why do you think I've racked my brains to use the best drafts to let you reach pre-celestial perfection? That's because your body contains a strand of celestial core power, and that strand of celestial core power can only be aroused after experiencing the 9-stage lightning tribulation. The current you is already my best alchemy material." Alchemy materials. Mu Yan's entire body was ice cold. She felt as if her world had collapsed at this moment. Ever since that unforeseen event, she didn't trust anyone in this world. But she treated Gong Qinshue as her best friend and relative. For Gong Qinshue, she learned how to mix drafts and learned medical skills. For Gong Qinshue, she risked her life to break into the dangerous secret territory for her, just because she said that there's something she wants inside. But now, Gong Qinshue is telling her that all of this is fake. She's good to her, just to use her body for alchemy. Just then, a man's gentle voice came from outside the pill furnace. "Junior sister, the drafts are all ready. I've troubled senior brother." Gong Qinshue's voice immediately changed from sharp and unkind to a soft, joyful gratitude. Mu Yen sees the face that emerges from the hole above the pill furnace. From Gong Chinchue, it turns into a young man. She knows this man. He's Gong Chinchue's senior brother in the Heavenly Road sect, Jian Feng, a genius alchemist. She sees Jian Feng throwing the drafts in his hand into the pill furnace. He looks at her with cold ridicule and pity. Senior brother, will the alchemy this time be the same as refining the immortal fetus 10 years ago? The immortal power was too abundant, causing the furnace to explode. In the end, I could only absorb 1/10,000th of the immortal power of the immortal fetus. Hee, junior sister, rest assured. With the experience from last time, this time, it definitely won't fail again. What's more, she's only the mother of the immortal fetus. The immortal power contained in her body is incomparable to that of the immortal fetus. Listening to the conversation between the two, Mu Yan's bloodshot eyes widen a little. Immortal fetus, 10 years ago, mother, no, it can't be like what she thinks. The immortal fetus used for alchemy, it can't be her child. However, there's a voice in her mind that's crazily clamoring to tell her, that's her child has been refined into an elixir by Gong Chinchue. Gong Chinchue. Mu Yan suddenly stands up from the pill furnace, continuously struggling like a madman. Gong Chinchue, the immortal fetus that you speak of, where did it come from? Gong Chinchue's venomous gaze sweeps over Jun Mayan's beautiful face, the jealousy and hatred in her heart almost overflowing. She doesn't understand how Jun Mayan, a lowly woman from an inferior country, could get pregnant with an immortal fetus. That immortal fetus is so powerful, it's enough to see what kind of supreme existence the child's father is. Jun Mayan, on what basis? But it doesn't matter. In any case, this immortal fetus has already been eaten by her. Now, even Jun Mayan herself will become her stepping stone. Gong Chinchue reveals a smile full of malice. She leans close to Mu Yan's ear and whispers, the immortal fetus, of course it was taken out of your belly 10 years ago. Hee, that 7-month-old baby, when it was dug out from your belly, it was still alive. When I threw it into the pill furnace, it would still make squeaking sounds, like it was calling for its mother. Mu Yan listens blankly, her ears seemingly ringing with the child's heart-wrenching cries. A heart-wrenching and bone-eroding pain spreads from her heart to every meridian in her body. Her child, the child that she thought was killed by her best relative, turned out that the real murderer was Gong Chinchue. What followed was a bone-piercing, crazy hatred. Gong Chinchue. Gong Chinchue. I'm going to kill you. I will tear you to shreds. When I refine you into a medicinal pill and swallow you, I'll be able to obtain the rare celestial physique that only appears once every 10,000 years. If you want to kill me, then do it in your next life. Ha 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 ha. The lid of the alchemy furnace was closed, and the entire alchemy furnace was ignited with a blazing alchemy fire. Gong Chinchue looked at Jian Feng expectantly, senior brother, please. Don't worry, junior sister. Jian Feng's eyes flashed with deep affection, I will definitely let you get what you want. At this moment, a loud bang suddenly came from the alchemy furnace. Gong Chinchue let out a shrill scream. She felt intense pain all over her body as she was thrown out heavily. Vaguely, she seems to hear Mayan's mournful and crazed cry, Gong Chinchue, even if I turn into a malicious spirit, I still won't let you off. Flames exploded, and the entire alchemy room shook violently a few times before completely collapsing. The author has something to say. Chapter 2. Mayan opens her eyes from her drowsiness, only to feel a convulsing pain in her stomach. She wants to reach out to cover her stomach, but finds that her hands and feet are firmly bound by something, and she can't move at all. She looks around. What comes into view is a rundown room with ventilation on all sides, and the furnishings in the room are somewhat familiar. What's going on? Wasn't she thrown into the Dan furnace by Gong Chinchue? The blazing heat burns her flesh and blood, and the bone-gnawing hatred breaks down her reason, and then she loses consciousness. How could she be tied up here now? Could it be that Gong Chinchua failed to refine pills, so she came up with a new way to torture her? As she's thinking, Mayan's gaze suddenly fixates on a certain place, and her pupils fiercely contract. Heavens! What did she see? A bulging belly. And that convulsing pain, it's also coming from her abdomen. This is her child. The child is still in her belly, and she can still feel the tenacious vitality of the baby. But, how is that possible? Her baby was clearly gouged out from her abdomen and taken away alive. Suddenly, Mayan's gaze fixates on the furnishings around her. She just felt that this room is familiar, but now she remembers. Isn't this the rundown room where she lived in the Su family 10 years ago? 10 years ago, her adoptive father went out to gain experience, and her adoptive mother, Su Shuefan, put her in the care of her maternal family, the Su family. The people of the Su family ridiculed her, and no one treated her well. After she unexpectedly lost her chastity and got pregnant out of wedlock, these people became even more aggressive, and locked her in this rundown room. And the scene in front of her is also so familiar. 10 years ago, she was 7 months pregnant, living alone in a rundown room, without enough to eat or wear warm clothes. Suddenly, one day, First Aunt, who had always ridiculed her, acted out of character, and warmly brought her a steaming hot meal. At that time, Mayan was overwhelmed by the favor, thinking that her cleverness and filial piety had finally gained the sympathy of First Aunt and the others. But she didn't expect that this was the arrival of her nightmare. After eating the meal, she fainted, and then she was awakened by a sharp pain from her abdomen. Big maternal Aunt Su Sure used the most common dagger to cut open her belly, and cut off her womb palace along with the child inside. Her 2 cousins each made the incision wider so that Chin Yulan, the eldest sister-in-law, could dig her child out. These 4 people were doing such cruel and bloody things, but they were smiling and looking forward to a beautiful future, completely ignoring her heart-wrenching cries and pleas. For the next 10 years, Mayan never forgot this heart-wrenching and bone-eroding scene. Every night, she would dream of it, and her heart would be haunted by a bone-piercing hatred. From then on, she lost her child and her right to be a mother. But now, why was she lying here? Could it be that she had been reborn? Reincarnated to 10 years ago? Before her child was snatched away. Just then, First Aunt's voice came from outside the room. My lord, are you really going to spend so much money to buy the child in that bitch's womb? Don't tell me that you're going to go back on your word after we dig the child out. Chapter 3. Mayan's mind goes cold. In her previous life, she didn't wake up until her belly was cut open. But in this life, she woke up early because of the sudden pain in her abdomen. That's why she heard this conversation. Remember to cut off her entire womb palace and give it to me. The child in her belly must not be harmed in the slightest. Darren, please rest assured, we absolutely guarantee to deliver a fresh, living child into Darren's hands. We've heard that a 7-month-old baby still wrapped in a placenta is the most nourishing thing for a woman. The man's voice suddenly becomes harsh. Don't say what you shouldn't say, the more you know, the faster you die. Big Aunt Susher is immediately terrified. Yes, it's all my fault for talking too much. I don't know anything. Send the child to the tea house we've agreed on before noon. I'll wait for you at the same place. Remember, the child must not be harmed in any way. Outside the room, Big Aunt's happy and flattering voice slowly moves away, probably sending the man out. Mayan suddenly comes back to her senses, only to find that her teeth have already bitten through her lips. Blood permeates the tip of her tongue, it's so fishy and sweet. She remembers that time when her child was dug out, and Big Aunt and the others happily packed the child in a food box and left. No one cared about her lying on the bed, waiting for every drop of blood to flow out of her body. Just when Mayan was in extreme despair, Gong Chinchua appeared. He had saved her life and given her hope to live on. But Mayan didn't expect that the main culprit of all this would turn out to be Gong Chinchua. That man must have been sent by Gong Chinchua, otherwise how could it be such a coincidence that he happened to save her? Thinking of this, Mayan's eyes are suffused with a chilling decisiveness. In her previous life, she was blind to actually regard her enemy as her benefactor. But since heaven has given her a chance to be reborn, she will never allow anyone to harm her child. Her gaze falls on the bulging abdomen, and Mayan's expression becomes incomparably soft. Baby, in this life, you've been helping Nyangqin, right? It's the pain caused by the baby's violent struggle that woke her up earlier, giving her time to respond. Baby, don't worry, in this life, Nyangqin will definitely protect you. Her bound hands began to struggle violently. The coarse hemp rope rubbed against her delicate skin, instantly turning her hands into a bloody mess. However, Mu Yan didn't seem to feel the slightest bit of pain. Her struggling movements became more and more intense and resolute. The first hand broke free. The second hand broke free. Just as she was about to get up and untie the rope around her feet, she heard messy footsteps coming from the door. Mu Yan's expression darkens. After hesitating for a moment, she immediately lies back in her original position, pretending that she is still tied up. With a creak, the door to the room opened. Mayan tilts her head and looks over. She finds that in addition to first maternal Aunt Su, her two older cousins Su Jinju and Su Baozhu, her older cousin Su Xiong and his older cousin Chen Yulan have also come in. Mother, this stinky girl is awake. Hearing her daughter Su Jinju's words, Su Shi promptly turns to look at Mayan on the bed. He originally thought that he would see June Mayan crying and begging for mercy, but who knew that he would meet a pair of bone-chilling bright eyes. Chapter 4. When she comes back to herself, she immediately flies into a rage out of humiliation. Little slut, what are you looking at? You've done something shameful, yet you still have the face to glare at me. Shameless thing, having an illicit relationship at such a young age, and even having a big belly. You've completely lost the face of our Su family. Saying that, she raises her hand and is about to throw it at Mayan's face. But before her hand falls, she is stopped by her cousin, Su Xiong. Mother, a little impatience will spoil a great plan. Don't forget, she's very precious now. Not only is she worth tens of thousands of gold coins, but she also represents my bright future. That Darren said that if we do things well, he will allow me to enter Jin Hong Men. Su Shi bitterly gives up. Su Xiong's eyes can't help but glance at Mayan. Although the woman has a big belly and swollen feet, it still can't hide her icy jade skin and stunning appearance. In particular, when Su Shi and the others tied her up, their movements were very rough, causing her clothes to be half open, revealing the faintly discernible delicate collarbone and the sparkling jade-like skin. Su Xiong swallows his saliva, thinking that his cousin's belly is about to be cut open and die. He can't help but feel pity. This little slut can have an illicit relationship at such a young age. Once she's pregnant, she must be very dissolute. He has always wanted to have a chance to taste the taste of this little cousin's body. Now, in order to enter Jin Hong Men, he can only give up. Chen Yulan turns her head and sees Su Xiong looking at Mayan with naked greed in his eyes. A flame of jealousy and hatred suddenly appears in her eyes. After driving Su Xiong out of the room, Chen Yulan fiercely spits at Mayan. Little slut, you even want to seduce your own cousin, don't you have any shame? Humph, sister-in-law, don't talk nonsense with her. We'll cut open her belly now and dig out the child inside. That's right, when the time comes, there'll be a big hole in her belly, and her intestines and internal organs will flow out. Do you think cousin will still look at her? Su Jinju and Su Baozhu laugh and comfort Qin Yuan. They look at Mayan with loathing and carefree eyes. Just like Qin Yuan. Ever since Mu Yan moved into the Su family, they had been torturing this girl with all their might. They were jealous of her beautiful appearance and her cultivation talent, which was 100 times better than theirs. Especially when they discover that all the men around them are focusing their gazes on Mayan, it makes them gnash their teeth in hatred. However, that was only in the past. The current June Mayan is just a fish on their chopping block, a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Su Shi gives a sinister laugh and pulls out a very ordinary dagger from her waist. She rudely reaches out and rips open Mayan's clothes. Just as her knife was about to fall. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his wrist, as if his bones were about to shatter. Su Shi cries out in pain. She turns her head and sees that Mayan, who should have been tied up, is actually sitting up. That slender, bloody hand was firmly gripping her wrist that was holding the knife. "Ah, June Mayan, how did you break free from the rope? Bitch, let go of my mother." Su Jinju and the others are still a few steps away. When they discover that the situation isn't right, they roar and rush over. But Mayan has already bent Su Shi's arm. As she screams in horror and pain, she ruthlessly stabs the dagger into her chest. Poochie, there's a sound, and blood splatters on Mayan's face. Chapter 5. The wrist holding the dagger suddenly turns, the flesh and blood are stirred, and the heart ruptures. Su Shi's shrill scream gets stuck in her throat. She opens her mouth, but not a single sound comes out. She doesn't understand until she dies. The lamb waiting to be slaughtered should be Mayan, so why is she the one who dies in the end? Nyang! Nyang! Nyang, don't scare me, boo-hoo. Slut, you actually killed my Nyang. By the time Su Jinju and the other two recover from the shock of Su Shi's murder, they find that Mayan has already cut the rope and stands up from the bed. The three were originally filled with righteous indignation, shrieking in anger. But when they see Mayan's appearance, they are so scared that their hands and feet turn cold, and they can't even speak fluently. June. Mayan, you, don't act recklessly. You killed my Nyang, my father, and my aunt, they won't let you off. Mayan chuckles, slowly turning the dagger in her hand. Sticking out her big belly, she approaches the three step by step. In terms of age, the current Mayan is only 14 or 15 years old, much younger than Su Baozhu. But at this moment, the imposing manner that she exudes makes the three people on the scene so scared that their hands and feet turn soft. In particular, her face and body were stained with the blood that had splattered from Su Shi's body. Her white clothes had turned into a bloody one, but she did not even bother to wipe it off. Instead, she faintly smiled, revealing her pearly white teeth. That appearance is like an evil Azura climbing up from hell to take revenge. The youngest Su Baozhu can't bear it anymore. She screams and turns around to run. But someone suddenly grabs her hair and ruthlessly rips it and throws it back. With a loud bang, Su Baozhu hits the wall and faints. Seeing this, Qin Yuan's face reveals a ruthless expression. She grabs a stool at the side and is about to throw it at Mayan. Her bulging belly hinders Mayan's evasion. Her head takes a hard hit, and the stool falls apart into pieces of wood. Ha, ha, smelly bitch, I'll let you be savage. Before she can finish speaking, Qin Yuan suddenly feels a sharp pain in the pit of her knee. Then, her body shakes, she can't stand steadily, and falls down. Fresh blood trickles down from Mu Yan's forehead, mixing with Su Shi's blood, making her look even more terrifying and sinister. However, she didn't even bother to wipe it. She just carefully protected her stomach and then looked at Su Jinju, who was the last one standing. Evil ghost, you're a life-reaping evil ghost, help me. Su Jinju screams and is about to rush out. Mu Yan throws out the dagger in her hand and hits her in the middle of the back. "Aw dash!" Su Jinju screamed. She lost all feeling below her waist. She fell heavily on the ground, her body twitching. Mu Yan holds her waist, struggling to pull the three wailing people together. She gently stroked her belly. "Baby, these beasts are too noisy. Are you disturbed by the noise? Don't worry, Nyungchin will soon make them unable to scream anymore." As soon as he finished speaking, the dagger flashed, and the three tongues fell to the ground side by side. Chapter 6. Looking at Mayan, whose face is covered in blood like an Azura from hell, step by step, Su Jinju and the other two are scared out of their wits. They open their mouths wide, wanting to scream, but they can only make "ah" sounds. At this moment, Su Xiong's voice came from the door. "Mother, Yulan, why did it take so long? Milord is still waiting." Upon hearing Su Xiong's voice, Qin Yulan and the other two's eyes lit up with hope. The three of them did not have much strength, but Su Xiong was already at the entry level of ancient martial arts. Dealing with Jun Mulan, a pregnant woman with a big belly, was a piece of cake. "Ah, ah, ah!" Qin Yulan opened her mouth and screamed with all her might. Seeing this, Su Jinju and Su Baozhu also shouted. Jun Mayan calmly walks towards the door, without the slightest intention of stopping them from calling for reinforcements. "What's going on? Yulan? Mother? Sister? Answer me. If you don't say anything, I'll barge in." Bang, 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 a violent crash came from outside the door. A moment later, the door of the dilapidated house was smashed open. The faces of Qin Yulan and the other two were covered with tears of blood. Their eyes were filled with hope and desire as if they had grasped at a life-saving straw. At this time, Jun Mayan, who has been standing by the door, raises the dagger in her hand. As soon as Su Xiong rushed in, she raised the dagger and stabbed it into a certain part of his shoulder. Su Xiong didn't even have the chance to scream before his body went limp and he collapsed. Mayan picks up the unconscious Su Xiong and slowly drags him towards Qin Yulan and the others. Qin Yulan and the others' ecstatic expressions froze on their faces, slowly turning into incredulous terror and despair. How was that possible? Jun Mayan was only at the entry level of ancient martial arts. She was also pregnant and didn't have the strength to truss a chicken. How could she easily subdue Su Xiong, who was also at the entry level? The corner of Mu Yan's mouth curls up, revealing a cold smile. All of this was thanks to Gong Qinxue. If it weren't for the sake of repaying Gong Qinxue, she wouldn't have gone to learn medicine and concoction. Naturally, she wouldn't have learned acupuncture. Acupuncture at the Jianjing acupoint could relieve blood stasis and chest swelling. However, it could only be done shallowly and not deeply. This was because the patient would faint if the needle was too deep. Su Xiong's clavicle acupoint was stabbed so deeply by her knife, how could he not faint? "My dear cousin-in-law, haven't you always been worried that my cousin will fool around outside and make you a cuckold? Why don't I help you get rid of this trouble now?" As she spoke, she gently tapped the top of Su Xiong's head with the dagger in her hand. Su Xiong grunted and slowly woke up. However, without waiting for him to realize what had happened, Mu Yan lifted her foot and ruthlessly stomped on his descendant's root. Ah! The shrill scream caused the entire dilapidated house to tremble violently. Dust fell from the roof. Withdrawing her foot, Mayan chuckles. "How is it? Is cousin-in-law satisfied? Compared to the feeling of you digging out my child from my belly, I wonder if watching my husband become a eunuch is happier and more interesting. Cousin-in-law, how are you going to thank me?" "Boo-hoo-hoo. Chen Yulan sobbed and shook her head desperately. Lunatic. 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 Right now, this June Mayan is a complete lunatic. She was afraid and regretful. She shouldn't have provoked such a lunatic. Chapter 7. An hour later, Mayan opens the door. With one hand on her waist and the other on her stomach, she slowly and carefully walks out of the dilapidated house. If you only look at her movements, you'd think that she's an incomparably gentle mother. However, behind her, the door that had just been opened was already filled with corpses. Every corpse's chest and abdomen has been cut open, and their internal organs have been dug out. Their eyes are wide open, and no one can close them. There's only endless fear, pain, and despair in their eyes. It's as if they've seen the most terrible hell. Mayan doesn't look at the bloody ground behind her, but throws a torch that's just been lit behind her. The raging fire was burning under the bright sun. Thick smoke rises straight to the sky, covering the sky above the house with a gloomy grayish-black. By the time a group of men dressed in black arrive on horseback, the place has already been burnt to the ground, and not even a shadow can be seen. The men in black look at each other in dismay, seeing the fear and disbelief in each other's eyes. Right at this moment, a white horse carrying a woman galloped over like a bolt of lightning. The woman has a slender figure, dressed in purple, a bamboo hat on her head, and a veil covering her face. Only the outline of her pretty face can be vaguely seen. As soon as she sees the ruins that have been burnt to ashes, the woman's voice is so cold and gloomy that it could drip water. What's going on? Where's the fetus that I want? Replying sect master, this lowly one also doesn't know how this happened. It should have been foolproof, trash. The woman raises the whip in her hand and ruthlessly lashes at them. After several lashes, she grits her teeth and says, "Search for me, even if it's a corpse, dig it out for me." "Yes, sect master." A moment later, several men in black hurriedly replying sect master, the pregnant woman's corpse isn't inside. You mean she ran away? Sect master, rest assured. Although we didn't arrange people around this house, this hilltop has been sealed by us brothers. If that woman really ran away, she absolutely won't be able to escape from this mountain. The woman wearing a veil clenches the horse's reins in a death grip, her face under the veil alternating between green and white. If she wasn't afraid of being discovered that she wanted to obtain an immortal fetus, she should have come to retrieve the fetus herself. She thought that it was just a little girl and nothing would happen to her. But unexpectedly, search the place thoroughly. The woman said fiercely, "Find this woman and her child even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground." Yes, sect leader. After June Mayan leaves the dilapidated house, she doesn't escape from the mountain as expected by the woman in white and her party. Instead, she turned around and headed deeper into the mountains. The deeper one went into the mountains, the denser the trees became. Layers upon layers of leaves rotted bit by bit. Under the soaking of the rain, they slowly turned into mud. There were countless venomous insects, snakes, and rats in the forest. There were even unknown beasts that were on par with yellow tear fighters. No one would have guessed that Mayan would go deep into the mountains. Because she was a frail pregnant woman. If she walked into this dense forest, she would only die. However, June Mayan's expression is very calm. Although her steps are heavy and slow, they are also exceptionally resolute. Roar! A bestial roar came from the front. Chapter 8. The leaves sway, and a huge leopard appears in front of her. Its green eyes greedily and viciously stare at the blood-covered Mayan. However, when its line of sight meets Mayan's blood-stained eyes, its huge body inexplicably shudders. An indescribable fear spreads through its body, and its instinctive fear of danger makes the first thought in its mind, escape. The leopard crouches down, baring its fangs and issuing a threatening roar. Then, step by step, it retreats out of Mayan's field of vision. Mayan straightens her waist, protecting her increasingly painful belly, and continues to slowly move forward. Baby, hold on a little longer, just hold on a little longer. Step by step, hour by hour. When the sky is completely dark, she finally finds the cave in her memory. Mayan's mouth reveals a shallow smile, and she gently caresses her belly. Baby, look, we've finally found it. There is an extremely rare spiritual vein in the Yenwu continent in this cave. Cultivating internal force next to a spiritual vein, the speed of advancement will be 3 to 4 times faster than usual. In her previous life, she accidentally discovered this spiritual vein and foolishly gave it to Gong Qinxue. And in this life, this will be the place where her baby will be born. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, several years have passed in a hurry. In the past few years, many major events have happened in the Yenwu continent. For example, in the high-ranked country of Huangyao, an alchemist who can refine a third-grade ice heart pill appeared, Jianfeng. As soon as the ice heart pill appeared, it caused a sensation in the entire Yenwu continent, and Jianfeng became a highly sought-after alchemy master. For example, in the middle-ranked country of Jingqin, news came out that their princess, Gong Qinxue, at the tender age of 22, broke through the earth grade and became the youngest heaven grade expert. Another example, in the low-ranked country of Qiyan, a meteor suddenly fell. This was a sign that a rare treasure was about to be born, so many practitioners gathered in the Qiyan country. However, all of this has nothing to do with Mayan, who is far away in the deep mountains and jungle. 4 years later, in the nameless jungle. Roar, an earth-shaking roar resounds through the sky, and a powerful pressure instantly pervades. The small animals that were walking leisurely in the jungle immediately trembled in fear when they heard this roar and fled in all directions. Soon, a huge ancient tree swayed, and a huge black bear scurried down from below. Its eyes were a strange red, and it was holding a dead animal in its hand. It was stuffing the animal into its mouth and chewing on it. If there were any humans here, they would be horrified to discover that this black bear was a mutated beast. And its level had already reached the terrifying profound rank. Yenwu continent's ancient practitioners are divided into entry, yellow level, profound level, earth level and heaven level. After heaven rank is the innate realm. Only by breaking through the heaven realm and reaching the innate realm could one be considered to have one foot in the door of cultivation. However, in the entire Yenwu continent, the number of people who have reached the pre-celestial realm can be counted on one hand. Most of the ancient martial artists were still stuck at the entry level and yellow level. This was enough to show how terrifying this black bear was. Suddenly, the black bear stopped chewing and looked down with its ferocious eyes. A little being had been standing there for some unknown time. Chapter 9. His little face was exquisite and unparalleled, so cute that it made people want to scream. But there was no expression on that handsome and cute face. He raised his little head, a pair of clear and beautiful deep blue eyes, calmly looking at the black bear. The black bear seemed to see disdain and provocation in those eyes. Roar, the majesty of the forest overlord was not to be questioned. The black bear threw away the food in its hand, raised its huge black paw, and fiercely swatted at the little boy. The bear's paw brought a strong gust of wind, causing the surrounding trees to shake incessantly. It seemed that if the bear's paw hit the little boy, he would definitely be smashed into meat paste. But in the next moment, the black bear's paw did not land, but its whole fat body floated up. The black bear's big eyes appeared to be in a daze. When it looked down, its eyes suddenly widened. No matter how low the bear's IQ was, at this moment, it was in disbelief and shock. Because its huge body that weighed hundreds of kilograms was actually lifted up by that little bean. The little bean was still expressionless, his chubby little hand lifted the black bear in a circle, and then threw it out. Bang! A loud noise, the entire forest shook, and the birds and beasts fled. A quarter of an hour later, the little boy dragged 4 strong bear paws to the front of a cave. A fire was set up, and the little boy very neatly began to deal with the bear paws, and then put them on the fire to roast. The smell of food filled the air. At this moment, a lazy and pleasant female voice came from inside the house. "Smells so good, Xiao Bao, what food did you hunt this time?" The little boy turned to look at the cave entrance, his beautiful little face still expressionless. But those deep blue eyes were bright, as if there were stars twinkling in them. Soon, the figure of a girl in white appeared at the cave entrance. The young girl was only 18 or 19 years old. She wore a set of white clothes that couldn't be any more simple. However, her fair skin and exquisite appearance caused others to be unable to move their eyes away from her. The girl's appearance could not be said to be devastatingly beautiful, but she had a kind of ethereal fairy-like temperament, as if she was an immortal banished from the 9th heaven who had mistakenly entered the mortal world, making people yearn to touch her, but also unable to bear to profane her. The little boy's eyes were bright as he stared unblinkingly at the young girl, as if he couldn't wait to stick to her. Even if his little face was still tense, it could be seen how much he liked and attached to this young girl. "I say, handsome, if you keep looking at me like that, I might fall in love with you." However, as soon as the girl opened her mouth to speak, her fairy-like temperament disappeared without a trace. She lifted the little boy's chin with one hand and stroked his smooth skin with her fingertips. Then, she lowered her head and gave a loud chirp on his soft and tender cheek. Her smile was especially lazy and charming. The little boy expressionlessly turned his head and turned the bear paw above the fire. He said, "Mother, it's time to eat." June Mayan props up her chin, tilts her head, and smiles as she looks at her incomparably handsome son. The more she looks, the more she likes him. The more she looks, the more she can't take her eyes off him. In the blink of an eye, the mother and daughter had already lived in this deep mountain for 4 years. When he walked into this cave 4 years ago, Mu Yan's heart was still filled with hatred and darkness, but now, he was indescribably grateful to the heavens. She was grateful to the heavens for bestowing Xiao Bao to her. Chapter 10. After eating the bear paw, Mu Yan is about to get up, but Xiao Bao comes over with a wet towel. He's obviously just a 4-year-old child, but he acts like a little adult. He grabs her hand and wipes the grease off her slender fingers. Mu Yan can't help but hold the little person in her arms, rubbing and kissing. "Baby, you're really Nyang's little sweetheart. If Nyang leaves you, how can I live?" Xiao Bao's little face is red. He leans on Mu Yan's fragrant arms and whispers, "Xiao Bao won't leave Nyangqin." Mu Yan is about to continue to tease her beautiful son, when the sky in the distance suddenly lights up with a colorful glow. Her eyes narrow and she lets go of Xiao Bao. Looking at the horizon, the corner of her mouth hooks up into a faint smile. "Nyangqin." Mu Yan lowers her head and carelessly says, "Baby, we've been hiding in this mountain for a long time. Do you want to go with Nyangqin to see the outside world?" Xiao Bao asks, "Are we going to the town?" "Not just the town." Mu Yan shakes her head, "We're going to leave this cave and go to a faraway place. Nyangqin has something that must be done." Xiao Bao is a little confused, but he still nods. Where Nyangqin is, Xiao Bao will be. Mu Yan holds his face and kisses Xiao Bao on both cheeks. She picks him up and reluctantly looks at the cave behind her. This spiritual vein is really a good place to cultivate. Unfortunately, she has to leave now. Gong Qinshue, Jian Feng, Jin Hongmen, Tiandao sect, and those who harmed her in her previous life. Hee, I wonder if you're ready. I, Jun Muyen, am back. On a spring afternoon, the warm wind blows gently and the fragrance of flowers assails. The messy and hurried sound of horse hooves comes from afar. As it gets closer, it can be seen that it's a group of men wearing tight black flying suits. The leader is a middle-aged man in his 30s. His face is a little pale, but his eyes are bright. He has actually reached the profound stage. Suddenly, the middle-aged man pulls the reins and stares at the direction of a huge banyan tree. Master, what's wrong? The middle-aged man did not say anything. He quickly jumped off the horse and walked to the banyan tree. When he saw the scene below the banyan tree, the middle-aged man took a deep breath. Ah, what a beautiful girl and child. The middle-aged man's subordinate couldn't help but exclaim. That's right, under the banyan tree, there was a young girl who looked to be about 17 or 18 years old, and a very cute little baby that looked like it was carved from jade. The two of them leaned their heads against the trunk of the banyan tree. The young girl's long hair hung loosely over her shoulders. Coupled with her beautiful appearance, she had a kind of charm that made people blush and their hearts beat faster. The middle-aged man's subordinate swallowed his saliva. My lord, do you want to bring this woman back? If the third prince saw her, he would probably go crazy with joy, right? The middle-aged man pondered for a moment, then waved his hand and said, Take her back, don't hurt her skin. The third prince would definitely go crazy if he were to touch her flawless skin, which was as smooth as snow jade. The horses didn't run far before they saw a luxurious carriage in the distance. The carriage was pulled by 8 horses and was divided into 3 spaces. The person sitting in the carriage is Qi Yan country's third prince, Liu Beiyu. At this time, opposite of Liu Beiyu, sits a beautiful and charming young girl. The young girl is only wearing a thin gauze, her snow-white skin and exquisite body are faintly discernible. Chapter 11. If an ordinary man were to see such a stunner, he would have already thrown himself at her. But Liu Beiyu doesn't even spare her a glance. Instead, he's holding a brush, earnestly writing and drawing on the paper. However, after writing for a while, Liu Beiyu suddenly flies into a rage. He throws the brush and roars, Get out, get out. Quickly get out of here. The beautiful girl jumps in fright. She's about to cry, but she doesn't dare to say anything. She hurriedly leaves. Your Highness, what's wrong? This girl was the most beautiful woman in Xia, and just a moment ago. Could it be that she can't give your Highness inspiration? Liu Beiyu angrily says, What most beautiful woman? She's nothing but a common rouge, nothing more. The subordinate scowls and is about to say something when suddenly, someone opens the curtain and reports, Your Highness, Li Daren requests an audience. He said that he found a peerless great beauty for your Highness. Peerless great beauty. It's not a lie again, is it? Liu Beiyu disdainfully says, These days, any Tom, Dick, or Harry can be called a peerless great beauty. Forget it, let him bring her in. Receiving Liu Beiyu's order, the subordinate immediately goes to pass on the order. But after a moment, the beautiful woman isn't brought in by someone, but carried in. Liu Beiyu is suspicious. When he clearly sees the appearance of the woman in white, his eyes suddenly stare blankly. For a moment, he unexpectedly becomes silly. There's a beautiful banshee, returning to the Xiang River. Tasting a peerless beauty, relying on a city-toppling appearance. Liu Beiyu murmurs in a low voice. He reaches out to touch the girl's face, but then nervously pulls back. Beautiful, she's really too beautiful. The beauty of a beauty lies in her charm, in her bones, not on the surface. How can such a city-toppling beauty be compared to those common rouge and rouge? Quickly change her clothes. This prince is now bursting with inspiration. I believe that this time, I will be able to create the most satisfactory painting of a beauty. Yes, Your Highness. Several maids listen to the order and are about to step forward to take off the girl's clothes. But at this moment, the white-clothed girl's eyelashes suddenly blink and she opens her eyes. Her bright and kind eyes are like rippling autumn waves. Liu Beiyu simply stares foolishly, saliva unconsciously dripping down from the corner of his mouth. June Mayan yawns without a care for her image and stretches. Her voice is languid with a hint of sexy huskiness. Oh, I had a really good sleep. Xiao Bao, are you hungry? Shouldn't we go find something to eat? However, when he turned around, he discovered that Xiao Bao wasn't by his side. Instead, there was a man who was drooling at him. However, June Mayan doesn't panic at all. She is calm and unruffled in the midst of chaos. May I ask who Your Excellency is? Liu Beiyu wipes his saliva and promptly says, "This one is Liu Beiyu, Qi Yan country's third prince." Because he admired Mrs. Peerless Elegance, he invited Miss over. I hope Miss can do me a favor. Oh. What kind of help? Why don't you tell me? Liu Beiyu picks up a thin, almost transparent dress and shows it to Mayan. Miss, please put on this dress and let this prince draw a picture of a beauty for you. Wearing this dress for you to draw? Mayan's mouth twitches. Are you sure this is a dress? When worn on the body, what should be seen and what shouldn't be seen can also be called a dress. Liu Beiyu nods again and again. When Miss wears this dress, you will certainly be as beautiful as a fairy, exuding a charm that ordinary people can't resist. June Mayan makes an "oh" sound, lightly saying, "And if I don't agree?" Chapter 12. The flying fish guard who had just brought Mayan in couldn't help but gloomily say, "Your brother is still in our hands right now. If you know what's good for you, then be obedient, otherwise don't blame us for being impolite." My brother. Mayan stares blankly for a moment before reacting. They're talking about Xiao Bao. She couldn't help but burst out laughing. Oh. Are you using Xiao Bao to threaten me? That's right, so you'd better listen to the third prince. Liu Beiyu repeatedly says, "Miss, you can rest assured, I'm really just painting, I absolutely won't do anything else. Moreover, after the deed is done, I will give you a generous reward, I absolutely won't let you suffer a loss. Change into a half-naked dress and paint. This is an interesting, good idea." Mayan touches her chin and smiles. Great, since Miss is so tactful, please quickly change into these clothes. Mayan takes the clothes, the corners of her mouth hooking up into an increasingly deep smile. That little face that originally seemed noble and wholly like a banished immortal, at this moment, becomes incomparably unbridled and charming. Just as Liu Beiyu is absent-minded, a light suddenly flashes before his eyes. He only feels a pain in his waist, and he suddenly loses all his strength. He cries out in alarm and falls to the ground. The guard on the side is startled. He shouts, "Your Highness," and is about to rush over to help. Suddenly, he stumbles and also falls to the ground. Those maids are completely vulnerable. Before they could react to what happened, they're already completely unable to move. Mayan takes the translucent dress and shakes her way over to Liu Beiyu. "Your eyes are really good. I also think that this dress suits you very well." What are you doing?" Liu Beiyu struggles to sit up, but he finds that he can't move his whole body. They didn't expect that this seemingly frail girl would actually be so powerful. The flying fish guard is even more indescribably shocked. He's a peak yellow stage practitioner. His Highness's cultivation is much higher than his. But they can't even take a single blow from this girl. "You, don't mess around. Don't tell me you don't want your brother's life anymore." As soon as the voice falls, the carriage's curtain is lifted. Xiao Bao comes in with a cold, small, and handsome face. He tosses the captain guard of flying fish in front of Mayan. He immediately ran over and hugged her leg. "Mother, are you all right?" The little baby's expression was still cold, but his beautiful blue eyes were filled with concern. Mayan holds his little face and kisses him on both sides. "Don't worry, of course Nyang is fine." "Have the people outside been subdued by Xiao Bao?" Xiao Bao nodded expressionlessly. He was neither proud nor surprised. Just like tidying up a small team of Qi Yan country's Imperial Yuan guards, it was as simple as tidying up a group of mice. The guard lying on the ground, unable to move, looked at his superior, then looked at Xiao Bao, who was only about 4 years old, and shouted in disbelief, "This is impossible. Our lord is a high-rank profound stage warrior, how could he be defeated by a little brat like you? Who are you people? Who are you people?" Xiao Bao and Jun Mayan ignore him. Xiao Bao looks up, his big bright eyes looking at Mayan. Chapter 13. Xiao Bao's eyes were slightly curved. His pupils were bright, and his ears were red. Although his little face was still tense, everyone could see that he was happy. Aya, how could she be so cute? That was cheating. Mu Yan hugged her son in her arms and kissed him a few more times before releasing him. After looking at Liu Beiyu and the others, he said with a smile that wasn't a smile, "Xiao Bao, let's play an interesting game, okay?" "What game?" "Hee, you will know in a while." After a while, the two maids, the flying fish guard captain, and the guards were stripped naked by Mu Yan and Xiao Bao. Only the important parts were pasted with leaves that Xiao Bao had gathered from outside. It was barely enough to cover the important parts. The few of them were ashamed and indignant, wishing they could faint. However, he didn't know what Mu Yan had fed them, but not only did they not have any strength, they couldn't even use the slightest bit of internal force, and they couldn't even make a sound. Mu Yan took the light silk dress and walked in front of Mu Yan. She smiled and said, "Your Highness, do you like this dress?" Liu Beiyu shakes his head in horror. Then he puts on a strong front and says, "You, don't mess around. I'm Qi Yan country's third prince. If you make a move against me, you won't have a good end. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you." Mayan smiles like a fox, "I'm just very interested in the painting that you mentioned." Liu Beiyu's clothes are quickly stripped, and then put on that transparent tulle. Xiao Bao had a cold expression on his face as he arranged the naked and immobile men into all kinds of poses. For example, the captain of the Imperial Guards was a drunken Imperial concubine. For example, the two maids were like mandarin ducks. For example, Liu Beiyu's beauty was lying on the couch, and his style was boundless. There were even a few guards who had their legs raised up, making extremely enchanting, difficult movements. Mu Yan looks at the various poses that Xiao Bao has made according to her requirements, and she can't help but burst into laughter. He felt that his son was too talented. She quickly spread out the brush and paper and began to draw in front of them. Meanwhile, Xiao Bao continued to drive the carriage forward. When the carriage arrives at a bustling market on the outskirts, Mayan finally puts down her pen. She gently raised her hand and sent out a stream of profound energy. Liu Beiyu and his group immediately regained their freedom. However, they had been in that position for too long, and their legs were numb. As soon as they regained their freedom, they immediately fell to the ground. Mu Yan held up the newly completed painting for them to see. "How is it? Are you satisfied with your looks?" When the guard captain and the other guards saw their own image in the painting, their vision suddenly turned black, and they wished they could faint. This, how could the man with his legs raised up and leaning on another man be him? And that enchanting and bashful expression, how could he do that? If anyone were to see them like this, they would no longer be able to continue living. Just find a piece of tofu and knock yourself to death. The captain's complexion is ashen, and he rushes over to snatch the painting from Mayan's hand. However, Mu Yan sneered and opened the window of the carriage. I can copy this painting with my eyes closed. If I'm the only one appreciating it, it would be such a waste. I wonder if I can throw these paintings out for everyone to admire. TSK, it's such a waste to just spread them here. When I go back to a big town, I must copy a few more. No. Don't throw it out. Chapter 14. Several grown men and 2 maids are no longer as arrogant as they were a few hours ago. They kneel in front of Mu Yan, snot and tears running down their faces, repenting their sins. Letting the world see these people who look exactly like them, but put on such a shameful pose, how can they continue to conduct themselves in the future? Not to mention being a guard in the imperial palace, they wouldn't even have the face to go out. Heroine, queen, female immortal, we know we were wrong. I beg you to return this painting to us. Mu Yan sneers, weren't you having a lot of fun when you caught innocent women and made them take off their clothes to paint? Now you know to beg for mercy. Several people prostrate themselves on the ground, continuously repenting. At this time, the head guard's intestines are turning green with regret. When he met a beauty on the road, he thought that he could bring her back to please the 3rd prince. He didn't expect that he would bring back an evil star. Now that the head guard remembers his shameful pose just now, he wants to bang his head against the wall and die. But just as everyone was crying and begging for mercy, an excited voice suddenly rang out from the carriage. Beautiful, it's too beautiful. Such charm, such layout, such colors, such a stunning painting, it should only exist in the heavens. Liu Beiyu is holding Mu Yan's painting in his hand. It's still a painting of him wearing a tulle, legs crossed, lips seductively biting, the posture of a beauty lying on the couch. But Liu Beiyu isn't angry or ashamed, instead, his eyes shine. He pounces in front of Mu Yan all of a sudden. Master, please teach me, how can I paint such a charming and spiritual painting? I have studied painting for more than 10 years, and thought that I had already seen the threshold. Now that I see Master's painting, I know how insignificant I am. Mu Yan's mouth twitches. She feels that she has encountered a psychopath. The faces of the guards and maids on the side are red, orange, yellow, green, and purple, incomparably splendid. Mu Yan lifts her foot and kicks him away. Liu Beiyu eagerly climbs up, completely disregarding the fact that his clothes are open and his important parts are exposed. Master, if you lack money or drafts, this disciple can be filial to you, as long as you are willing to give this little disciple 1 or 2 pointers. Mu Yan turns her head, blue veins throbbing on her forehead. Xiao Bao, let's go. She can't afford to provoke this kind of lunatic, can't she just hide? The curtain of the carriage is lifted, and Xiao Bao's figure appears. He walks to Mu Yan's side and obediently lets Mu Yan lead him. Mu Yan opens the window of the carriage and is about to jump out. But Liu Beiyu throws himself at them, shouting and screaming, Master, little brother, don't go. As long as you are willing to stay, I am willing to promise you anything. Do you want the treasures in the dense fog forest? I can offer them to you, Master. The guard captain on the side felt his vision go black. He wanted to slap his master to death. Mu Yan stopped in her tracks, a glint flashed across her eyes. You guys want to go to the fog forest? Yes. Liu Beiyu sees that Mayan has really stopped, and he immediately nods frantically. His mouth rapid fire. A few months ago, a meteor suddenly fell from the fog forest, and a few days ago, a multicolored glow filled the sky. This is a sign of the appearance of a treasure. That's why my father sent me to the forest to investigate. Send you? Mu Yan couldn't help but shake her head. He felt that Qi Yan country's emperor's brain was probably broken, otherwise why would he send such an unruly lunatic to explore the fog forest? Chapter 15. In just a breath's time, he smiles flatteringly. Of course, no matter what, I can't compare to Master and Little Senior. What's more, we're not going to snatch the real rare treasure, we just want to join in the fun and pick up some cheap things. There are many precious drafts in the fog forest. With my identity, as long as I don't fight with those big sects, no one will make a move against me. This time, when the rare treasure comes into being, there will definitely be a gathering of heaven's proud sons and daughters. Perhaps we can even see a lot of beautiful women. I heard that even Jingqing country's proud son of heaven, Gong Qinxue, will come. Just thinking about seeing these beauties and having the inspiration to paint, I'm extremely excited. Even if we don't get any treasure, it's still worth it. Don't you think so, Master? Mayan's eyes slightly dim, the corners of her mouth hooking up into a faint smile. Has she heard of the fog forest? Of course she has. It could be said that no one in this world is more familiar with the fog forest than her. In her previous life, there were also meteors falling, and multicolored lights filling the sky. Numerous experts from the three countries of Qi Yan, Jingqing, and Huangyao gathered in the fog forest, wanting to find this treasure. Later, it was proven that the treasure was really incomparably precious and rare in the world. Because it's actually an egg of a sacred beast that's about to hatch. In the Yanwu continent, there are wild beasts, strange beasts, and spirit beasts, but no one has ever seen a real sacred beast. Sacred beasts, they only belong to the Shuzhen continent. It's conceivable that whoever obtains a sacred beast can walk unhindered in the Yanwu continent. At that time, Mayan was just an unremarkable profound stage practitioner. She only came to the fog forest to broaden her horizons with Gong Qinxue. She never thought about fighting over the sacred beast egg. But she didn't expect that in the end, the sacred beast egg would fall into her hands by a freak combination of factors. Thinking of this, the smile on Mayan's face turns into a deep sneer. How foolish she was at that time. She clearly obtained the sacred beast egg that everyone yearns for. As long as she dripped her blood, the sacred beast would recognize her as its master. But because of Gong Qinxue's few flowery words and her expectant eyes, she impatiently gave the sacred beast egg to her. Later, the sacred beast hatched and became Gong Qinxue's contracted beast. It also allowed her to move unhindered in the Yanwu continent. Since then, no one could contend against her. Mother. Little Bao's soft voice suddenly rang out beside her ear. Mu Yan suddenly comes back to her senses from her ice-cold hatred. She lowers her head and sees Xiao Bao's big eyes that are brimming with concern. She can't help but feel her heart soften, and all her hatred is diluted by warmth. Picking up Xiao Bao, Mu Yan chuckles. It just so happens that I also want to go to the fog forest, then let's go together for a while. Master, it's great that you're willing to stay. What are you guys still standing there for? Hurry up and prepare the dishes. The flying fish guards and palace maids all glanced at the prince resentfully. He cowers and looks at Mayan and Xiao Bao, then he turns around and resentfully leaves to prepare food and wine. Master, you and little senior brother are so powerful. I'm an early-stage Earth-stage powerhouse, but I can't even take one hit from you. And little senior brother, he looks like he's only 4 or 5 years old, but he can actually defeat my guard captain. Master, what's your name? Which country are they from? Mu Yan leisurely ate her food and wine. As she picked food for Xiao Bao, she glanced at him with a smile that was not a smile. Under this glance, Liu Beiyu's whole body immediately stiffens, a kind of creepy feeling welling up inside him. His attempt to secretly inquire about his master's origin has been discovered. Chapter 16. Lu Beiyu recalls Mu Yan's methods, and he shudders. However, his heart is particularly big. Seeing that Mu Yan has already finished eating, he immediately says excitedly, "Master, master. Then can you teach me how to paint now? How can you capture the charm of the characters so well when you draw them?" Mu Yan takes a sip of tea, and says with a leisurely smile, "Of course it's because your choice of reference is wrong. That can't be. The girls I chose were all real beauties, and I even let them wear gauze and silk to stimulate their senses." Seeing Mu Yan's cold gaze, Lu Beiyu immediately points to the sky and swears, "Master, I swear, those beauties were all willing, and I paid them handsomely. Only you, master, are really too beautiful and seductive. Ahem, in short, I was caught by you the first time I made a mistake." Mu Yan's mouth hooks up. "You're used to seeing beauties, how could they stimulate your senses? Don't you think that the poses of your guards yesterday were very unique and interesting? Don't you have a particular desire to paint?" Lu Beiyu's eyes brighten. Master is right, especially the head guard. If he were to wear a half-naked palace dress, it would certainly have a different flavor. How? Master, you're really too awesome, I'll go call someone in. Seeing the silly prince excitedly running out, there's an angry and despairing wail coming from outside the carriage. Mu Yan picks up the teacup and takes a sip, her smile languid and unbridled. Provoking her, and he still wants to escape unscathed. He's too naive. The carriage slowly moves forward. 3 days later, when Lu Beiyu's guards are tormented to the point that they're better off dead than alive, wishing they could dig a hole to bury themselves, they finally arrive at the fog forest. The reason why the fog forest is called the fog forest is because it's covered in dense fog all day long. The deeper they go into the forest, the thicker the fog becomes, and people can't even see their fingers in front of them. But the strange beasts in the fog have long been accustomed to this kind of environment. And if a human practitioner wants to walk inside, they can only use their internal force to perceive. One can imagine how dangerous it is inside. But despite the dangers of the fog forest, there are a lot of rare drafts inside. Usually, there are a lot of low-level practitioners who come in to search. What's more, now that there was a strange phenomenon in the sky, it proved that a precious treasure was about to be born. Hence, even the high-level martial artists were gathered here. Master, little senior brother, there are clean bluestones here. Sit. Lu Beiyu attentively greets Mayan and Xiao Bao to come over, wiping the dew off the bluestone for them. The leader of the third prince's bodyguards face-bombed. They simply couldn't bear to look at their master's silly and adorable look. In the end, does he still remember that he is the third prince of Qi Yan country? However, Mu Yan doesn't seem to be overwhelmed by the favor at all. She holds Xiao Bao and leisurely sits down. Lu Beiyu also said, "Shifu, you and little martial brother rest for a while, this disciple will go pick some herbs for you." Although the drafts on the outskirts of the fog forest can't be compared to the ones inside, they can still be sold for a high price outside. Just as Lu Beiyu is about to leave, a furry shadow suddenly emerges from the fog. The forest is full of powerful beasts, so Lu Beiyu's guards are immediately on alert. But when they saw the furry shadow clearly, they were all dumbfounded. It was actually a rabbit with long ears and fur. It was only slightly bigger than 2 adult palms. Chapter 17. Especially when it runs, it's little but shakes up and down, its 4 short legs swaying left and right, it's even more silly and adorable. Lu Beiyu sees Mu Yan staring at the stupid rabbit with bright eyes, and immediately solicitously says, "Master, do you like this rabbit? This disciple will catch it for you as a pet, okay?" In his opinion, no matter how powerful Mu Yan is, she's only an 18 or 19-year-old girl. It's normal for her to like a cute, furry little animal like a rabbit. Mu Yan's eyes are indeed bright, but she's thinking of stir-fried rabbit meat, braised rabbit meat. Liu Beiyu waves his hand, and the flying fish guard immediately pounces. Who would have thought that the seemingly sluggish rabbit would always be able to accurately dodge their attacks when they pounced on it? Just as the guard captain is about to use his ability in anger, the stupid rabbit's nose suddenly twitches, then it sniffs, and scurries into Xiao Bao's arms. Xiao Bao is expressionless, his little hand grabs the rabbit and picks it up. Nyangqin, I'll make you stir-fried rabbit meat. The rabbit immediately shakes twice, light flashes in its pale red eyes, and it suddenly opens its mouth to spit out a blue fruit. Mu Yan and Xiao Bao still haven't reacted when they see this fruit, but Liu Beiyu and his guard can't help but exclaim, "It's actually a blue treasure fruit." A thumb-sized blue treasure fruit can be sold at a sky-high price in the Ghost City. And this blue treasure fruit is at least the size of an adult's fist. The rabbit bounces its limbs, struggling to jump down from Xiao Bao's hand. It pushes the blue treasure fruit to Xiao Bao with its short legs. Those round, pale red eyes seem to flash with a fawning and intimate light. Xiao Bao looks up at Mu Yan, and Mu Yan looks at the rabbit thoughtfully. Just as she is about to speak, suddenly there's the sound of noisy footsteps, coming from the direction where the rabbit just appeared. "Miss, come and see, the dead rabbit that stole our blue treasure fruit is really here." As soon as the voice falls, several figures appear. The one in front is a beautiful girl wearing a crimson gauze. She has bright eyes and white teeth, a gorgeous complexion, and there's a lovable and unruly attitude between her brows. There's also a hint of a mature woman's charm, making people's eyes get hooked at first sight. But when Liu Beiyu sees this girl, his face immediately darkens. His guards all had ugly expressions on their faces as they turned their heads away, seemingly disgusted at the sight of this young girl. The girl didn't seem to expect to see Liu Beiyu here and suddenly froze. After a long time, she stepped forward and said, "Zifei greets cousin." "Cousin, long time no see." Liu Beiyu's face fell as he said coldly, "If there's nothing else, we'll take our leave first." "Wait." Go Zifei quickly opened her mouth and bit her lip. Her voice was filled with grievance as she said, "Cousin, are you still blaming me? You clearly know that I had no choice back then. I didn't really want to let you down." Liu Beiyu takes a deep breath. "You are now Jingqing country's second prince consort, and you have nothing to do with me. I don't want to see you again in the future." As he spoke, he walked to Mu Yan's side and said softly, "Master, let's go." Seeing His Royal Highness, who's usually so silly, revealing an incomparably ashamed and resentful expression, Mu Yan thoughtfully stood up with Xiao Bao in her arms. But just as they were about to leave, the maid at Go Zifei's side disagreed. "Wait, you can leave, but that rabbit, and the blue treasure fruit that the rabbit stole, you must return it to us." Saying that, the maid rushed towards Mu Yan and Xiao Bao, wanting to grab the blue treasure fruit in Xiao Bao's arms. Chapter 18. As soon as Liu Beiyu exclaims, he sees that the maid, who doesn't know what's going on, stumbles and falls heavily when she's only 2 or 3 steps away from Mu Yan. Bang! There's a sound, dust flies, and mist drifts away. When the maid raises her head again, her nose and mouth are full of blood, and a large piece of her front teeth is missing. That appearance is really too horrible to look at. Mu Yan's expression is leisurely, holding Xiao Bao without moving, her smile incomparably leisurely and peaceful. Everyone at the scene is silent and sluggish for a few breaths, before someone reacts. Go Zifei quickly steps forward to help the maid up. Her reddish eyes look at Liu Beiyu. "Cousin, how can you do this? Even if you still have feelings for me, and blame me for letting you down, there's no need to lay your hands on my maid, right? I didn't expect you to be such a narrow-minded person." Liu Beiyu's handsome face instantly flushes red. That's from anger. Lu Beiyu's maid finally can't bear it anymore, and she screams, "Miss Gua, stop crying and pretending to be virtuous. In Qi Yan country, who doesn't know that you were greedy for power and riches, so you abandoned His Highness, who was still your fiancé, and voluntarily followed Jingqing country's second prince, becoming his side concubine? Pa, it's clear that you've become a biao, and you still want to erect a chastity arch, and you still say that you had no choice, so disgusting." "That's right, what side concubine? In the end, isn't she just a concubine? Wait until she's old and weak, let's see what kind of good end she can have." This time, it's Go Zifei who's trembling with anger. 2 lines of clear tears flow down from her eyes. She looks at Lu Beiyu with reddened eyes. "Cousin, you allow your maid to insult me like this? Did you forget that we used to be childhood sweethearts and grew up together? Don't tell me you don't have any feelings for me." Lu Beiyu's face darkens, and he doesn't pay attention to her. Instead, he looks at Mu Yan. "Master, let's go." "Cousin, at least let this woman return my blue treasure fruit to me." Go Zifei suddenly shouts, "We guarded that blue treasure fruit for 3 days and 3 nights, and it wasn't easy to pick it. Cousin, you've always been open and aboveboard, don't tell me you want to rob other people's things." "That's right, in order to get this blue treasure fruit, we even lost quite a few people." Gui Zifei's maid couldn't help but chime in. Lu Beiyu coldly says, "This blue treasure fruit is my master's. It has nothing to do with me. Even if you ask me, it's useless." Go Zifei glanced at Mayan and saw that her skin was as white as snow, radiating radiance. She was even more beautiful than her own appearance. She also saw Lu Beiyu attentive to her, giving her everything she wanted. Her heart suddenly welled up with a sour and unbearable jealousy. Mayan looks to be around 18 or 19 years old. Her figure is delicate and slender, and she's a lot younger than Lu Beiyu. How could he be Lu Beiyu's master? This can only be the love between Lu Beiyu and her. At the thought of Lu Beiyu shifting his affections so quickly, Go Zifei couldn't help but clench her teeth. Shouldn't Lu Beiyu be obsessed with her, unable to dispel his love and hate in this life? How could he shift his affections so quickly and take a fancy to another woman? Taking a deep breath, Go Zifei looks at Mayan. She tries her best to speak in a calm tone. "This young lady, you've just heard that we picked this blue treasure fruit. Please return it to us." Chapter 19. Pfft, Lu Beiyu's guards and maids couldn't help but laugh out loud. Along the way, when they were being tortured by this Miss June, they really wished they were dead. But now that they see her tormenting others, they feel unspeakably carefree. Go Zifei's pretty face turns pale from anger, and her maid hatefully says, "This is a spirit fruit, not a strange beast, how could it respond?" "Don't twist words and force logic. If you know what's good for you, you'd better return the blue treasure fruit to us. You have to understand that those who offend our Jingqing country's second prince will not have a good end. Do you really want this spirit fruit?" Mu Yan curls up the corner of her mouth and looks in Go Zifei's direction. "If you want it, it's not like I can't give it to you." "Miss June." The captain of the guards couldn't help but exclaim, "You mustn't be deceived by this woman." Go Zifei nods, "Quickly give me the blue treasure fruit." She thinks that Mu Yan has finally compromised, and she can't help but reveal a pleased expression. However, Mu Yan's next words stupefy everyone present. "As long as you kneel down and kowtow to my apprentice 3 times, then say 100 sentences, I'm a slut, I've let you down. I'll give you this blue treasure fruit, how about it?" Pfft, ha 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 ha. Lu Beiyu's people finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. Those guards who had been tortured by Mayan to the point of wanting to live and wanting to die, now look at Mayan with an expression full of worship. Lu Beiyu doesn't laugh, his eyes are slightly red as he looks at Mu Yan, an inexplicable sourness and warmth welling up in his heart. After being abandoned by Go Zifei, he became the laughingstock of the entire Qi Yan country. Because of the power of Jing Qing country's second prince, he couldn't even seek justice for himself, and even his imperial father couldn't support him. But he didn't expect that Mu Yan, a person he had only known for a few days, a master that he casually recognized, would actually be willing to stand up for him. Go Zifei's complexion alternates between green, red, white, and purple. She's so angry that her whole body is trembling. The long sword in her hand is suddenly unsheathed, and she shouts, "If you talk nonsense again and don't return the blue treasure fruit to me, then don't blame me for being impolite." Mu Yan sneers, her expression full of ridicule. "It seems that you don't want this blue treasure fruit. Since you don't want it, you can eat it, Xiao Bao." Xiao Bao responded with a cold and delicate face. Then, he picked up the azure treasure fruit and started to eat it. Everyone present was dumbfounded. "Eat it! Eat it!" He ate it. That child, who looked like he was carved from jade, actually directly ate a blue treasure fruit. This was the azure treasure fruit. It contained abundant profound energy and was a rare treasure in the world when used to refine pills. It was a treasure that all apothecaries and alchemists yearned for even in their dreams. In the end, such a treasure was eaten by a child. Master. This was the azure treasure fruit. It contains extremely powerful Xian Qi. If an ordinary person eats it without processing and refining it, their internal organs will burst and they will die. Liu Beiyu came back to his senses and looked at the blue treasure fruit that little Bao had already eaten more than half of, and his whole person was not good. Mu Yan smiled carelessly and leisurely took out a handkerchief to wipe her son's mouth. "Don't worry, Xiao Bao's appetite is very good, he won't eat too much." "What fucking great appetite! Is this something that can be explained by having a good appetite?" After Xiao Bao had eaten more than half of it, he held the blue treasure fruit in front of Mu Yan. "Niangqin, eat. Baby, are you full?" Chapter 20. Mayan takes it with a smile, and in 2 or 3 bites, she nibbles off the rest of the blue treasure fruit, and casually throws away the core. "All right, stupid apprentice, let's go, don't waste any more time here." Liu Beiyu nods absent-mindedly, and he can't help but look at the core of the blue treasure fruit again. The others also have the same actions and expressions as him. A magnificent blue treasure fruit, a rare 7th-grade profound fruit, is actually eaten up and thrown away. Liu Beiyu belatedly realizes that this master of his seems to be very, very complicated. "Bastard, we've been guarding the blue treasure fruit for 3 days. I'll kill you." Go Zifei's maid lets out a roar. Finally unable to bear it, she raises her sword and slashes over. Seeing the sword flashing with cold light, Liu Beiyu doesn't think about it, and steps in front of Mayan to block her. Wearing a gold-threaded glove, he reaches out and grabs the incoming sword. Internal force surges, and the strength of an Earth stage practitioner is revealed. There's a cracking sound, and the 2 swords are broken by him. Liu Beiyu pushes out his palm again, and the maids are pushed far away by the wind from his palm. 2 of them cry out in alarm and fall to the ground. Go Zifei stares at Liu Beiyu in disbelief, then looks at Mayan with resentment. She didn't expect that Liu Beiyu would actually make a move against her people for Mayan. But she's only at the middle of profound stage, how could she be Liu Beiyu's opponent at the early Earth stage? Does she really have to let go of the woman who snatched her blue treasure fruit? Just as the 2 sides are confronting each other, there's a sudden rush of hooves. Everyone turns to look at the sound. They see that the horses are coming from outside the fog forest. In the thick fog, there's not the slightest bit of delay or panic. It's clear that they're not ordinary foals. As soon as Go Zifei sees the person, she immediately shows a happy expression and shouts, "Your Highness." Nay, the horse stops in front of them. A handsome man wearing bright yellow clothes jumped down from the back of the horse. Go Zifei immediately rushes over, nestling in his arms like a little bird, and says coquettishly, "Your Highness, why did you only come now? People have been waiting for you in this thick fog for several days." "Ha, it's this king's fault for making Lao Feifei wait so long." The man touches Go Zifei's face, and says with a smile that isn't a smile, "In a moment, Ben Wang will let you pick the rare drafts that we've picked in the fog forest, how about it?" Speaking of rare drafts, Go Zifei immediately remembers the blue treasure fruit that was eaten. She gritted her teeth for a while, then immediately revealed a tearful expression, "Your Highness, you have to uphold justice for Feifei. We found the blue treasure fruit with great difficulty and guarded it for 3 days and 3 nights before we managed to snatch it from the mouth of a strange beast. Who knew it would be snatched away? Azure treasure fruit." Even though this man was already used to seeing treasures, hearing the name of blue treasure fruit, he couldn't help but slightly widen his eyes. Where is the blue treasure fruit now? Go Zifei points at Mayan, hatefully saying, "It was snatched away by this woman. I clearly said that we obtained it with great difficulty, but she still shamelessly took it for herself, and even ate our blue treasure fruit." The man looked in the direction Go Zifei was pointing. When he sees Mu Yan who is carrying Xiao Bao, his pupils involuntarily contract. Chapter 21. As soon as this man appears, Liu Beiyu's complexion becomes extremely unsightly. That's because he recognizes at a glance that this man is Jingqing country's second prince, Gong Qianting. He's also the one who seduced his fiancée, and also the one who ridiculed him. Any man who suffers such humiliation wouldn't be able to bear the anger in his heart. However, Gong Qianting's cultivation is in the middle of Earth stage, a whole small realm stronger than him. The people that Gong Qianting brings are even more powerful than his guards. No matter how much anger he has, he can't vent it out. However, when he sees Gong Qianting's gaze full of interest falling on Mu Yan, Liu Beiyu finally can't bear it. "Gong Qianting, don't go too far. The drafts in the fog forest belong to whoever gets them. What makes you say that the blue treasure fruit is yours?" Gong Qianting's gaze falls on Liu Beiyu, and he can't help but sneer. "I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be His Royal Highness, the third prince of Qi Yan country." "What? After Ben Wang snatched away your fiancé, you found a new one so quickly?" It seems that His Royal Highness, the third prince, is quite broad-minded. Women being snatched, he simply doesn't care about it. Ha 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 ha. The person behind Gong Qianting laughs mockingly. "Your Highness, it would be better if you snatch Liu Beiyu's woman as well. This way, our Qi Yan country's third prince will have a new nickname in the future." "What nickname?" "Of course it's the Millennium Turtle Green Tortoise." Ha 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 ha. Those insulting words and laughter are continuously transmitted into the ears of Liu Beiyu and his guards. Each and every one of the big men's faces flush red, their eyes almost spurting out flames of anger. Gong Qianting's gaze can't help but fall back on Mu Yan. His eyes flash with a stunned and determined light. "Girl, I don't care who you are. But you should have known my identity just now. I am His Royal Highness, the second prince of Jingqing country. What Liu Beiyu can give you, I can give you. What he can't give you, I can also give you. How about it, are you willing to return to Jingqing country with me? I will give you the position of a concubine, and let you enjoy glory, splendor and wealth." "Your Highness." Go Zifei rushed forward in disbelief and grabbed Gong Qianting's sleeve. "That woman humiliated me like this. How can you let her become your concubine and be on the same level as me? If she is a concubine, then what am I?" A trace of impatience flashed across Gong Qianting's eyes as he waved his hand heavily. Go Zifei fell to the ground. "Humph! Ignorant fool! This prince just pampered you a little and you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Gong Qianting looked down at Go Zifei and said disdainfully, "Who do you think you are? At best, you're just a pet that Ben Wang seized from Liu Beiyu's hands. If you knew your place and were obedient, I wouldn't mind pampering you. But if you want to question me, what qualifications do you have?" Go Zifei stared at him incredulously, her whole body couldn't help but tremble. A broken voice came from her throat, "No, it's impossible. Am I not your most beloved concubine?" She suddenly pounced on Gong Qianting and shouted at the top of her lungs, "When you tricked me away from Liu Beiyu, didn't you say that you would love me for the rest of your life, and that you would give me the best life?" Gong Qianting's face showed a strong sense of loathing and disgust. Chapter 22. He suddenly revolves his internal force, and with a cracking sound, Go Zifei's skull is actually crushed by him. Blood and brain matter flow down from the top of Go Zifei's head, flowing through her eyes that are still open in death. Gong Qianting gives a casual push, and Go Zifei falls straight to the ground. Her eyes are wide open, and she forever stops breathing. Those big beautiful eyes stare straight at the sky, and there's no telling if they're hiding hatred, regret, or despair. Gong Qianting takes the handkerchief that the maidservant hands over and wipes his hands. He casually throws it aside, and smiles at Mayan. It's as if the one he just killed wasn't his favorite concubine. And it's just a pet of a cat or a dog. "Little beauty, do you understand now?" Gong Qianting walks towards Mayan step by step, reaching out to pinch her small and exquisite, spotlessly white chin. "As long as you obediently listen to me, you can get everything you want, including glory, splendor, wealth, and rare drafts that mortals can't even imagine." Liu Beiyu steps forward and pushes away Gong Qianting's hand that's reaching towards Mayan, and firmly protects Mayan and her son behind him. "Gong Qianting, if you want to humiliate me, then directly come at me. Don't have any ideas about my master. My master isn't a greedy and vain person like Go Zifei." "Ha ha ha, Liu Beiyu, you're putting on this posture of a hero saving the beauty. It seems that you really like this little beauty. But the more you like her, the more I want to snatch her." Liu Beiyu's complexion is ashen, internal force surges within his body, as if he could break out at any time. The ridicule and pride in Gong Qianting's eyes become stronger. Hasn't there been a saying since ancient times, that a beauty is paired with a hero? Since you're so reluctant to part with this little beauty, then we might as well use this beauty as a bet. Whoever wins in the end will take the beauty away, and the loser will kneel and crawl around here like a dog. What do you think? My master isn't a bet. I won't bet with you. Liu Beiyu says through gritted teeth. What, don't you know how to bet? Aren't you afraid of losing to Ben Wang? Liu Beiyu, in the end, you're just a useless green bastard. Ha ha ha, how about this? You kneel on the ground and bark like a dog, then crawl under Ben Wang's crotch. Ben Wang will consider playing with this beauty for 2 days, then give her back to you. How about it? Each and every one of Liu Beiyu and his guards tremble with anger. However, whether it's Liu Beiyu against Gong Qianting, or his guards against Gong Qianting's guards, none of them are a match. Just as Liu Beiyu was about to lose his mind in anger, a clear and melodious voice suddenly rang out. A bet with me as the stake. I'm quite interested. Mu Yan placed Xiao Bao on the ground and said with a smile. Shifu. Liu Beiyu exclaims. When Gong Qianting hears her languid, clear, and charming voice, half of her bones soften. Little beauty, I didn't expect you to be so tactful. Even your courage is a lot bigger than that coward Liu Beiyu. Ha ha ha, very good. You really suit this king's taste. This king will definitely pamper you for a few more days. Liu Beiyu listens to Gong Qianting's humiliating words. His hands tightly clench into fists. He suddenly clenches his teeth and takes a step forward. Fine, I'll bet with you. The so-called gamble was the ancient martial arts competition. But a low-tier Earth stage against a middle-tier Earth stage, there was no doubt that he would lose. Chapter 23. Third Highness, please don't. If you are injured, how will we explain it to His Majesty? Liu Beiyu's complexion is slightly pale, but his expression is incomparably firm. Since I've recognized Master, how can I allow Master to be humiliated and do nothing? He. Who said that you're the one going to compete? Mu Yen said slowly. Liu Beiyu stares blankly and turns to look at Mayan. If it wasn't me, who else could it be? None of my subordinates have broken through the Earth rank. Could it be that Master was going to take action himself? Just as he was thinking about this, he saw Mu Yan's lips curl up slightly, revealing a charming and evil smile. Xiao Bao, go and complete this bet for your junior brother. You mustn't lower your guard and lose mother. Standing next to Mayan, the little boy with a taut and delicate face nods. Xiao Bao won't give Nyangqin to anyone. With that, he took a few steps forward and stood in front of Gong Qianting with a straight face. There was dead silence. Moss. Moss. Xiao Bao is only 4. Liu Beiyu is simply going crazy. He lets out a high-pitched scream, that Gong Qianting is an Earth stage martial artist, and he will never show mercy to children. You, how could you let brother Xiao Bao go? Gong Qianting felt even more humiliated when he saw Xiao Bao standing in front of him. He fiercely glares at Mayan, sinisterly saying, Are you courting death? Master, let me fight. Even if I can't beat Gong Qianting, at least with my identity as Qi Yan country's third prince, he won't kill me. Liu Beiyu anxiously runs over to pull Xiao Bao back. Mu Yan glances at him, then calmly and unruffled finds a bluestone to sit down. Her expression is indescribably leisurely. It's just an embroidered pillow and rotten straw bag, that's all. My Xiao Bao is more than enough to deal with him. Or. His long eyelashes tremble slightly. When he lifts them up, he reveals an awe-inspiring cold light. His Royal Highness, the second prince of Jingqing country, doesn't even have the guts to accept a duel invitation from a 4-year-old child. I don't have the guts to accept it. Gong Qianting was so angry that he laughed. As a woman, your courage is the first that this prince admires. In return, I will definitely torture this little bastard to death in a moment. I hope you can still laugh when the time comes, ha 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 ha. Shifu. Liu Beiyu shouts again. But in the blink of an eye, Gong Qianting's palm turned into a claw, and all the dark force in his body surged madly as he viciously clawed at the top of Little Bao's head. Ah! Liu Beiyu's maid couldn't help but turn her head, her face full of fear and unwillingness. The guards on Gong Qianting's side, on the other hand, were calm and unruffled. They were laughing and joking, waiting to see the little boy being tortured by their highness. After all, one was an Earth rank expert, and the other was just a 4-year-old child. When the two of them stood together, Xiao Bao's height only reached Gong Qianting's thigh. Apart from Mayan, no one here believes that Xiao Bao is Gong Qianting's opponent. They even believed that the child could not withstand a single blow from Gong Qianting. However, Xiao Bao's delicate little face was still as cold as ever. There was no panic, no despair, no anger. When Gong Qianting's claws, which were wrapped in powerful Xian Qi, came rushing at him, Xiao Bao suddenly stretched out his small white and tender palm and gently pushed in Gong Qianting's direction. Bang! A loud sound rang out. Chapter 24. Gong Qianting's huge body falls back heavily. After falling to the ground, he staggers a few steps on the ground before he can stand firm. And not far from him, The child, who is almost submerged in the leaves, stands firmly in place, not moving a single step. Even his cold expression doesn't change a bit. He slowly withdraws his tender white hand, and his ice blue eyes meet Gong Qianting's. Suddenly, his pink little mouth opens, and he spits out words in a crisp and pleasant voice: embroidered pillow, rotten idiot. Waste. Walala. The whole audience is dead silent, only the sound of the wind blowing leaves echoes around. Even Liu Beiyu and the others forget to ridicule him. They just stare in shock at this 4-year-old child as if he's a monster. God! They already knew that their little senior brother is powerful, able to easily capture the profound stage guard captain. But they didn't expect that he could confront Gong Qianting head-on without falling into a disadvantageous position. Moreover, the internal force that Xiao Bao just showed is definitely stronger than Gong Qianting's. Could it be that he's already a high earth stage, or even higher? Could it be heaven stage? Liu Beiyu opens his mouth wide, unable to close it for a long time. When Gong Qianting comes back to his senses, he's completely furious and in disbelief. In a direct confrontation of internal force, he actually lost to a 4-year-old child. How is this possible? Son of a bitch. I'm going to kill you. Gong Qianting suddenly pulls out the knife from his waist, pouring all his internal force into the knife, and fiercely slashes at Xiao Bao. Liu Beiyu panics again. Gong Qianting has a weapon, but Xiao Bao doesn't. This disadvantage is too big. He hurriedly pulls out the sword from his waist, and is about to throw it at Xiao Bao. But just as Gong Qianting's knife is about to fall from the sky, Xiao Bao, who has been standing in the same place, suddenly disappears. The little figure turns into a phantom, revolving around Gong Qianting. Gong Qianting raises the knife and slashes it down, but it can't even touch Xiao Bao's clothes. Aw, 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 aw. Gong Qianting, who has been fighting for a long time, begins to go crazy, completely losing his mind. The internal force in his body also flows out like a flood. Not long after, his forehead was already covered in fine beads of sweat. It was also at this moment that Xiao Bao's illusory figure came to a stop behind Gong Qianting. The small palm pushed toward the vital acupoint on Gong Qianting's back. The vigorous qi suddenly condensed into a sharp blade and pierced into Gong Qianting's body. Ah! Gong Qianting screamed and fell to the ground. His body twitched violently and he passed out. The wind slowly died down, and the leaves and dust fell to the ground. The area once again fell into a strange silence. Damn it! Gong Qianting's men suddenly came to their senses. Hurry up and save the second prince. Just as they were about to rush over, a pair of slender jade-like feet slowly stepped on Gong Qianting's unconscious face. Mayan steps on Gong Qianting's face and unhurriedly says, "The profound energy aura on my body is very unstable. If you take another step forward, I can't guarantee that I won't accidentally crush your highness's head like a winter melon." Gong Qianting's subordinates suddenly stop in their tracks. They look at Mu Yan with shock, anger, and fear, then they look at Xiao Bao. These people couldn't understand it no matter what. Chapter 25. A middle-aged man takes a deep breath and says in a low voice, "Let His Highness go, and we'll let you leave safely. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. You should know that offending our Jingqing country's royal family won't end well." The middle-aged man is Gong Qianting's personal bodyguard. His cultivation is at the peak of Earth stage, only one step away from Heaven stage. He can be said to be a powerhouse who can move unhindered. So he's not really afraid of a 4-year-old child and a girl. He's just afraid that something will happen to Gong Qianting, and he won't be able to explain himself when he goes back. The middle-aged man thought that he would have to waste his words. Who knew that Mayan would easily kick Gong Qianting far away? When the middle-aged man and his entourage have gone to save Gong Qianting, he tells Liu Beiyu to leave immediately. In the fog forest, as long as they walk a certain distance, they will soon be unable to find their traces. They don't have to worry about Gong Qianting's people chasing after them for revenge. But Liu Beiyu is still puzzled and resentful. Master, you let Gong Qianting go so easily. Let go easily. Mayan chuckles and touches her son's head. She faintly says, if you think that having his spine broken by internal force, unable to stand, unable to have sex, and that his lower body will forever be paralyzed, is that letting him go easily? Then I'll really let him go. Ah! Liu Beiyu cries out in shock, then looks at his little brother who is like a bean. Little brother's seemingly simple blow actually turned Gong Qianting into a cripple. This is really, too cool. Ha 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 ha. Liu Beiyu can no longer hold back his laughter. He only feels that the humiliation and depression he's suffered for more than a year have completely dissipated at this moment. Mayan listens to his laughter, and the smile on her lips becomes more and more cold and unbridled. Gong Qianting, Gong Qinshua's brother, how could she forget? How could she let him go so easily? When they first met in the previous life, Gong Qianting wanted to take her as a concubine, and even wanted to use force on her. It was Gong Qinshuo who pretended to be a good person, and saved her several times from Gong Qianting's hands, which made her even more grateful to Gong Qinshuo. She was really stupid at that time. Why didn't she think that if Gong Qinshuo really regarded her as a good friend, Gong Qianting Qianshua would not respect her like this? Hee. She was so happy to meet Gong Qianting so early in her life. Of course, he couldn't let him die so easily. His whole body is paralyzed, and he can't have sex. These are just the surface that tells Liu Beiyu. In fact, she had also planted a slow-acting poison in Gong Qianting's body. She believed that Gong Qianting's remaining days would be very exciting. Master, where do we go next? What treasure do you want to find, and I'll accompany you. Suddenly, she hears Liu Beiyu's loud voice. Mu Yan looks at him with a smile that is not a smile. Next, I have my own things to do, let's part ways here. Ah, master, what do you want to do? Can I help you? A cold light flashes through Mayan's eyes. No one can help me with what I want to do. Stupid disciple, I hope we never meet again. As soon as she finished speaking, she picked up Xiaobao and quickened her pace. Liu Beiyu still wants to chase after her, but he finds that no matter how fast they walk, Mayan's figure is getting further and further away from him, quickly disappearing into the dense fog. Chapter 26. Nyangqin, where are we going? Xiao Bao is holding Mu Yan in one hand and holding the stupid rabbit in the other, walking with his short legs. His handsome face is taut, but he still couldn't help but ask. Mu Yan thinks for a moment and picks up her son. She doesn't answer perfunctorily because Xiao Bao is too young. Instead, she answers in a deep voice. There was a group of bad people who bullied Nyangqin. Nyangqin is now going to find them for revenge. Xiao Bao's pink and tender little face immediately exudes a strong murderous aura. Xiao Bao will not let off the bad guys who bullied Nyangqin. Xiao Bao is so obedient. Mu Yan can't help but kiss her baby son. Xiao Bao's face is red. Just as he is about to ask where the bad guys are, Mu Yan's eyes suddenly brighten and she puts Xiao Bao down. She quickly steps forward and pushes aside the bushes in front of her. Sure enough, she sees an unremarkable red fruit inside. 9th rank Zhu Yen fruit. Even with Mu Yan's composure, she can't help but gasp. Ninth rank Zhu Yen fruit is the top draft in the Yanwu continent. It can be used for alchemy, and it can also be used to make drafts. If it is sold, it can be sold for a sky-high price. Xiao Bao, you stand guard at the side for Nyangqin. Don't let anyone disturb Nyangqin, understand? The Zhu Yen fruit must be harvested together with its roots. If there is any damage during the process, the medicinal effect of the Zhu Yen fruit will be halved. Xiao Bao solemnly nods, holding the rabbit and standing obediently on the side. Time passes by, and suddenly, the quiet rabbit in Xiao Bao's arms twitches its nose and suddenly scurries out. Xiao Bao is startled and turns to look. He sees that the rabbit hasn't left, but is standing in the same place. It turns its head and looks at him with its mung bean eyes. Stir-fried rabbit meat, Nyangqin wants to eat it. Xiao Bao murmurs. He takes a few steps forward and arrives at the side of the rabbit, wanting to pick up the rations. However, just as he reaches out his hand, the rabbit nimbly jumps a little further. Then it continues to stay where it is. Xiao Bao chases step by step like this, not noticing that his mother's figure is slowly covered by the fog, and he can no longer see it. When Mu Yan finishes harvesting the Zhu Yen fruit and looks back, she only sees the afterimage of her son dissipating in the fog. Her face changes and she quickly chases after it. In the depths of the fog, two beautiful girls were walking together. The older one was dressed in red, and her cold and elegant appearance exuded a sense of nobility. Although the younger one's looks were slightly inferior, her facial features were delicate, and her eyes were bright and clear, making people unconsciously attracted to her. Sister Qinxue, I'm so unlucky today. It wasn't easy to get senior brother to agree to bring me to the misty forest to play, but in the end, I actually got separated from him. Fortunately, I ran into you. Otherwise, I would have been torn to shreds by the exotic beasts. Gong Qinxue revealed a gentle smile. It's just a slight effort. Sidong, how many times have you thanked me? What's more, I hit it off with you the moment I saw you, and I treat you like a younger sister. Of course, I can't watch you get bullied. Won't you dislike me as your older sister? How is that possible? Lin Sidong exclaims, you're the youngest heaven-grade expert in Yanwu continent, I can't wait to worship you. Being your sister is like a dream to me. The more Lin Sidong talks, the more excited she gets. She looks at Gong Qinxue with eyes full of worship. She even reaches out to grab her arm, and happily walks next to her. A touch of impatience flits through Gong Qinxue's eyes, and she calmly pulls her hand away from Lin Sidong's. Chapter 27. This is because Lin Sidong's master is extraordinary, and her senior brother Bai Chen is a famous ancient martial arts genius in the Yanwu continent. Gong Qinxue thinks that this girl has value, so she speaks kindly to her. Just then, a muffled sound of thunder suddenly comes from the sky. The whole sky seems to suddenly darken. Even in the fog forest, there is a strong wind. The fog thickens, and there are countless leaves and dust flying everywhere. Ah, Qinxue's sister, it hurts, I've been scratched by the branches. I can't see anything, Qinxue's sister, save me. Gong Qinxue stands steadily in the wind, listening to Lin Sidong's cries, but completely disinclined to pay attention. Instead, she shows a cold and disgusted expression. Princess, don't we need to save Miss Lin? Gong Qinxue's guard asks. Gong Qinxue sneered, it doesn't matter. Even if she dies, I can still bring her corpse to her sect, and weep and mourn for my newly befriended little sister. On the contrary, I can gain Bai Chen and the others' goodwill. She's much more useful dead than alive. This gust of wind and lightning directly engulfs half of the fog forest. It continues for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea before it subsides. Chinchua's sister, I'm in so much pain. Not far away, Lin Sidong's low cries of pain can be heard. Something hit me, it hurts so much. Boo-hoo, my face is scratched. If Ichen's senior brother sees this, he will definitely scold me as a clown. Gong Chinchua frowns in annoyance. She is just about to put on the appearance of a gentle sister, but when her gaze falls on the thing in Lin Sidong's hand, her pupils suddenly contract. It turns out to be a golden egg the size of a baby. On the surface of the golden egg, there is a faint layer of dark red veins, emitting a bright light. This is a sacred beast egg. It is also the greatest treasure that will be born in the fog forest this time. Gong Chinchua's breathing is rapid, and with great difficulty, she steadies her mind and steps forward. Sidong is really lucky, you actually found a sacred beast egg. Ah! Lin Sidong suddenly came back to her senses and looked at the egg in her arms. Only then did she realize that this golden egg was exactly the same as the holy beast egg that senior brother Bai Yichen had described to her. She could not help but exclaim in joy, "Ah, it really is a holy beast egg. I actually found a sacred beast egg, ha, if senior brother were to find out, he definitely wouldn't dare to believe it." Gong Chinchua slightly narrowed her eyes and said slowly, "Little sister Sidong, didn't you say that you like big sister very much? Elder sister really wants this sacred beast egg, why don't you give it to me?" This. Lin Sidong suddenly showed a difficult expression, but then she did not agree, and firmly shook her head. "I'm sorry sister Chinchua, I can't give you this sacred beast egg, because I want to give it to senior brother Ichen." A strong killing intent and hatred flashed through Gong Chinchua's eyes. The gentle smile on her face completely disappeared, leaving only a cold malevolence. "It turns out that the sisterly love you spoke of was all fake. Hee, since you don't even regard me as an elder sister and are not even willing to give me the sacred beast egg, then don't blame me for being impolite." As soon as her voice fell, Gong Chinchua suddenly made her move. She is a heaven-grade expert, and in the entire Yanwu continent, she rarely has an opponent. And Lin Sidong is just an early profound stage, she doesn't even have the slightest ability to resist under her hands. Chapter 28. Lin Sidong falls to the ground, blood overflows from the corner of her mouth, and her internal organs are in pain because of the internal force shock. She looks at Gong Chinchua in disbelief, not understanding why the gentle and affectionate sister Chinchua suddenly becomes so fierce. "Sister Chinchua, how can you be like this? I clearly found that sacred beast egg first, how can you steal my things?" Gong Chinchua sneers, "What qualifications does a fool like you have to get a contract with a sacred beast? Do you know how much preparation I've made to get this sacred beast egg? I'm destined to be the master of this sacred beast." As early as when the meteor fell into the fog forest, Gong Chinchua had already looked for a fortune chart master to deduce the treasure that would be born this time. When she learned that it's a sacred beast that can't even be seen in the Yanwu continent this time, her whole body trembles with excitement. She's determined to get this sacred beast, and she's already fully prepared for it. And she, the youngest heaven-grade expert in the Yanwu continent, is naturally the only one worthy of the sacred beast's master. Who does Lin Sidong think she is? She wants to snatch the sacred beast egg from her hands? Gong Chinchua looks at the pale red lines on the sacred beast egg with fascination. Thinking that this sacred beast egg will soon become hers, her body can't help but tremble with excitement. However, the next moment, her expression suddenly freezes. Her blood-stained hand touches the sacred beast egg, but the egg doesn't have the slightest reaction. When Gong Chinchua carefully looks at the lines on the eggshell, her cold and elegant face instantly becomes distorted and sinister. She fiercely glares at Lin Sidong. "You've already formed a contract with the sacred beast?" Lin Sidong stares blankly at first, then looks at her own hands. Her face and hands are full of scratches from the branches and sand. When she was holding the sacred beast egg just now, it's natural that she inevitably smeared blood on the eggshell. The so-called contract is under the condition that the sacred beast approves. A drop of blood to recognize the master and servant runes are engraved in the sacred beast's body, and a blood contract bead is condensed in the human's body. Gong Qinshua simply doesn't want to believe that the sacred beast has actually recognized Lin Sidong, this waste, as its master. The sacred beast has actually become Lin Sidong's contracted spiritual pet. Lin Sidong figured out the crux of the matter, and couldn't help but reveal a carefree smile. You're such a hypocritical bad woman. I kindly treated you as an elder sister, but you actually want to snatch my sacred beast egg. Now you won't be able to get the sacred beast egg, you really deserve it. Although she didn't want the sacred beast egg, she only wanted to give it to her senior brother. But even if he couldn't give it to senior brother, it was still better than giving it to this bad woman. Gong Qinshua took a deep breath. Not only was she not enraged, she instead revealed a shallow smile. Seeing her smile, Lin Sidong couldn't help but shiver. What do you want? Once a contract is formed with a spirit beast, a blood contract bead will condense in the dantian. This blood contract bead will need at least an hour to completely fuse with the human body. Even spirit beasts need an hour. How long do you think it will take for your blood contract bead to completely fuse with your body? Sacred beasts were far superior to spirit beasts and mutated beasts. Lin Sidong's eyes widened in horror. She turned around and wanted to run. But before he could take 2 steps, he crashed into a mountain of flesh and was heavily pushed back by Gong Qinshua's hands. Chapter 29. It's too late. Who told you to overestimate yourself, to actually form a spiritual pet contract with my sacred beast? Your blood contract bead hasn't completely fused with your body yet. As long as I dig out your blood contract bead and eat it, the sacred beast will still belong to me. Lin Sidong desperately struggles to escape, but her limbs are quickly held in place. The next moment, a sharp pain comes from her stomach, and Lin Sidong can't help but let out a mournful howl. However, Gong Qinshua and her men are completely unmoved. Gong Qinshua's hands even rummage through Lin Sidong's dantian, making terrifying sounds of internal organs churning. Lin Sidong's screams become weaker and weaker, even her lips turn blue and black. Her eyes are unfocused, and it's clear that she's about to die. Finally, Gong Qinshua finds the blood contract bead, and she can't help but laugh heartily. She swallows the blood contract bead in front of Lin Sidong. Sure enough, the blood contract bead melts in her body. She feels the contractual connection between herself and the sacred beast egg, and the sacred beast egg in her hand also makes cracking sounds. Princess, that's great. The sacred beast is about to be born. Congratulations, Princess, you are about to become the first person in the Yanwu continent to have a contracted sacred beast as a pet. Gong Qinshua carefully places the sacred beast egg on the ground, her eyes unblinking as she stares at the increasingly brighter pale red veins, and the eggshell that slowly reveals spider web-like cracks. At the same time, powerful internal force begins to surge within her body, and Gong Qinshua's face shows a crazy and excited light. Just then, the underbrush next to her suddenly moves. Gong Qinshua and the others jump in fright, thinking that someone has heard the noise and has come to snatch the sacred beast egg. But when they turn their heads, they find a chubby snow-white rabbit drilling out of the underbrush, swaying as it walks to the front of the sacred beast egg. Gong Qinshua and the others all breathe a sigh of relief. No one would put a rabbit in their eyes. They wouldn't even bother to kill it. The cracks on the sacred beast egg on the ground are getting bigger and bigger, and there's a faint golden light coming out of the cracks. Ayo, ayo. They can faintly hear the roar of a beast coming from the sacred beast egg, as well as that powerful pressure that pervades between heaven and earth. Gong Chinchua's men can't help but exclaim, "Is this the sacred beast? What a powerful pressure!" Yes, I have never felt such a powerful pressure even from a peak heaven stage powerhouse. The princess can make a contract with a holy beast. From now on, she will be invincible in Yanwu continent. Gong Chinchua suppressed the surging majestic power in her body, her burning gaze unblinkingly staring at the sacred beast egg that was cracking open bit by bit. Soon, just a little bit more and she would become the one and only holy beast master. From now on, breaking through the Yanwu continent and ascending to the upper realm will no longer be a dream. However, just as the shell of the sacred beast egg was about to crack completely, the silly rabbit that was squatting at the side suddenly opened its mouth, and with a howl, swallowed the sacred beast egg that was about to hatch, along with the eggshell and the sacred beast inside. It swallowed the sacred beast egg. He swallowed it. Gong Chinchua and her guards, who were waiting anxiously at the side, were petrified. Even Lin Sidong, who had been gradually losing her vitality, couldn't help but have her eyes light up when she saw this scene. Chapter 30. The snow-white rabbit is furry and chubby, its small eyes open, but it soon lazily closes again. As if it simply doesn't want to pay attention to Gong Chinchua's roar. A cold light flashes through Gong Chinchua's eyes, a dagger suddenly appears in her hand, and she's about to cut the rabbit's belly. However, there's a sudden flash of light. Gong Chinchua is caught off guard, and the rabbit in her hand is snatched away. Gong Chinchua angrily looks over, only to see that the one holding the rabbit is a little boy carved from jade, so delicate that people can't take their eyes off him. The little boy looks at her expressionlessly, coldly saying, "The rabbit is mine. This is Nyangqin's reserve food, she can't let others take it away." Gong Chinchua's sacred beast has been snatched away again and again, her reason is almost completely washed away by anger. She doesn't even have time to think about it. How could a 4-year-old child have the ability to snatch the rabbit from her hands? A cold light flashes in her hand, and a long sword falls into it. A malicious gaze looks at Xiao Bao, and he says, "Little bastard, if you don't return the rabbit to me, then I'll kill you as well." As soon as the voice falls, a powerful internal force, mixed with the sword light, rushes straight towards Xiao Bao. No one thinks that Xiao Bao can escape this internal force attack. Even Lin Sidong, who was on the brink of death, couldn't help but look sad. But who knew that Xiao Bao, facing the internal force attack of a heaven-grade powerhouse, is calm and unhurried, and dodges sideways. Soon after, the little hand quickly pushes out, with a loud bang, the two mysterious forces collide together, and completely disappear in the air. Xiao Bao and Gong Chinchua both take a step back. Everyone on the scene, including Gong Chinchua, is stunned. She looks at her own sword and hand in disbelief, then looks at Xiao Bao. She can't believe that her own attack was actually blocked by a 3 or 4-year-old child. Gong Chinchua is heaven grade, and to be able to block a heaven grade practitioner's attack, it's naturally only heaven grade, or even higher. Ha 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 ha. Lin Sidong's breathing is already very weak, but seeing this scene, she still can't help but burst into carefree laughter, panting weakly, "Gong Chinchua, Yanwu continent's youngest heaven grade expert. Ha ha ha, this is really a big joke." Gong Chinchua's guards also sucked in a breath of cold air. A child that was only 3 or 4 years old and a heaven stage ranker, no matter what, they should not be mentioned in the same breath. However, the truth was right before their eyes. If people were to know that Gong Chinchua's strength is only comparable to that of a baby, then her title as the #1 genius girl in Yanwu continent would really become a huge joke. This was something that Gong Chinchua would not allow even if she died. Gong Qinchue's eyes revealed a strong killing intent. At this moment, not only did she have to take back the rabbit and the sacred beast egg it had swallowed, she also had to kill the child in front of her. Only by killing this boy can she, Gong Qinchue, forever be the #1 genius of Yinwu continent. The youngest heaven-rank warrior. A cold glare swept over, and the guards at the side immediately understood. They drew their weapons and attacked Xiao Bao. In the confrontation with Gong Qinchue just now, Xiao Bao had already realized that this bad woman's strength was equal to his. With the addition of her subordinates, it would be difficult for him to win. Instead, he would be at a disadvantage. Xiao Bao recalled his mother's words, "If you can't beat them, run." Chapter 31. As soon as Mayan discovers that Xiao Bao is missing, she immediately chases after him. But the visibility in the fog forest is really too low, so after wandering around for a long time, she still can't find her son. Instead, she finds Lin Sidong lying on the ground on her last breath. Even with Mayan's indifference, when she sees Lin Sidong's miserable state of being cut open, her heart wells up with pity. Silver needles flash on her fingertips, and she quickly inserts them into several of Lin Sidong's major acupuncture points. But she's lost too much blood, and her entire dantian has been thoroughly crushed. It can be said that there's simply no hope of survival. But under the stimulation of the silver needles, Lin Sidong slowly opens her eyes. Mayan quickly asks, "Have you ever seen a 4-year-old child holding a long-haired rabbit?" Lin Sidong's eyes are blurred, she's absent-minded for a while, then she points in a direction. Which direction did he escape to? You quickly go and save him, Gong. Gong Qinchue wants to kill him. What? Who are you talking about? Mayan's pupils suddenly contract. Gong Qinchue, it's her, because I contracted with a holy beast, she dug out my blood contract bead. Gong Qinchue. It's actually Gong Qinchue again. That's right, only she would do such a deranged thing. Digging out the blood contract bead from a person's dantian. At this time, Lin Sidong's pupils are already slowly becoming lax, and her breathing is also slowly becoming empty. But tears still fall from the corners of her eyes. Yichen. Senior brother. I originally promised to be his bride. We all agreed to get married next year. If senior brother Yichen knows that I'm dead, how sad he would be. I'm sorry. Senior brother Yichen, Sidong can't accompany you anymore. Mayan's heart wells up with sorrow, and even more intense hatred towards Gong Qinchue, as well as worry for Xiao Bao. Although she sympathizes with Lin Sidong, she must go find Xiao Bao right now. However, Lin Sidong suddenly grabs her hand, and puts a jade bracelet in it. Miss. I beg you, help me, give it to senior brother Yichen's hands, tell him not to be sad. Wait, which sect is this senior brother Yichen from? What's his full name? However, after saying that last sentence, Lin Sidong completely closed her eyes and breathed her last. Mu Yan looks at the dark green jade bracelet in her hand that has traces of blood. She frowns and puts it away in her bosom. No matter what, the most important thing right now was Xiao Bao. She would never let Gong Qinchue hurt Xiao Bao again. Holding the rabbit in his arms, Xiao Bao fled through the dense fog forest as fast as lightning. In a short period of time, Gong Qinchue and her men really couldn't catch him. However, Xiao Bao was only a 4-year-old child after all. He would also get tired. Finally, he was forced to the edge of a cliff. The fog here was very thin. Looking down from the cliff, it was still a misty forest. However, they were at least 100 meters above the forest. If one were to jump down, even an inborn expert would fall to his death. Gong Qinchue's cold and murderous voice came from the fog not far away. why don't you keep running? I want to see if you can escape from the palm of my hand. Xiao Bao held the rabbit and looked at Gong Qinshue coldly. Chapter 32. Gong Qinshue's face distorts. A 4-year-old heaven-grade warrior, a heaven-grade warrior who was younger than her by a whole 18 years, how could she keep him? Capture him for me, don't let him die so easily. Gong Qinshue says in a horrified tone, a 4-year-old heaven stage practitioner, this doesn't make sense. Maybe he took some kind of treasure. If this child's flesh and blood are refined into medicine, maybe it can help me break through to pre-celestial. Yes, princess. Several guards quickly surround him, blocking all of Xiao Bao's escape routes. Gong Qinshue is a mid-level heaven stage practitioner, and her guards are at least at the peak of profound stage. The 2 strongest guards have already reached the early stages of heaven stage. Xiao Bao's cold and calm gaze slowly sweeps over everyone. Soon after, he turns around and jumps off the cliff without hesitation. Damn it, quickly catch him for me. Gong Qinshue growls, wanting to pounce over to catch him. But Xiao Bao's movements are too fast and too decisive, they don't even have time to react. Who could have thought that Xiao Bao would directly jump off the cliff without hesitation or resistance, committing suicide? Xiao Bao. Just as Gong Qinshue is hesitating, she only sees a flash of white light in front of her. A figure flashes past them like lightning, heading straight for the falling Xiao Bao. Mu Yan didn't expect that she would finally catch up to Xiao Bao's figure according to Lin Xidong's instructions. What she sees is the scene of him jumping off the cliff. Mu Yan doesn't even have a trace of hesitation, the mysterious energy in her body surges crazily, and she pounces towards the direction of the cliff. Gong Qinshue finds out that it's a woman's figure, and immediately shouts, "Do it!" The 2 peak earth stage guards are closest to the edge of the cliff. With a roar, they strike a palm towards the back of the white-clothed figure. Mu Yan suddenly turns around, her white clothes fluttering, her ink-black hair dancing, revealing a peerlessly beautiful face. The 2 guards stare blankly. Before they could react, they feel a majestic aura of mysterious energy that wants to drown them hit them in the face. Bang! There's a loud noise. The 2 only feel a sharp pain in their chests, and then they simultaneously fall to the cliff. What's going on? Gong Qinshue sternly asks, who the hell is that? Unexpectedly, the 2 guards stared blankly at her for a long time, then suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and fell stiffly to the ground. Princess, the 2 of them are dead. The leader of the guards checked their breathing and shook his head. Even at the moment of their death, the 2 of them still had their eyes wide open, as if they didn't know what had happened. Gong Qinshue's eyes opened wide in shock, and she practically didn't dare believe it. How could this be possible? 2 peak-level Earth stage martial artists died in just one blow. Who was that just now? She looked down at the bottom of the cliff and saw nothing but white mist. Not a single person could be seen. Gong Qinshue heaved a sigh of relief when she thought of how they must have fallen to their deaths from such a high place. In any case, she is still Yanwu Continent's youngest Heaven's Edge expert, a unique genius. But, go down and search. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. No matter what, she couldn't let them have any chance of survival. And my sacred beast egg, you must find that rabbit for me. Chapter 33. Mu Yan wakes up to the tinkling sound of the zither. Because Mu Yan was also good at playing the zither, she could hear that the sound of the zither was very pleasant to listen to, but there was not a trace of emotion in the music. It was as if there was a puppet mechanically moving the zither strings according to the music score. Although it's very good, it's not as touching as Xiao Bao's. Xiao Bao. Mu Yan suddenly sits up and looks around. She sees that this place seems to be a cave, but the surroundings are empty, not even a shadow of a person. Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao. Where are you? Come out. Mu Yan shouts for a long time, but she doesn't get any response. At this time, Mu Yan suddenly feels a gentle female voice in her mind. The godly musician's inheritance, the first trial begins. What godly musician's inheritance? At this moment, the originally gentle melody that was like the sound of flowing water suddenly changed into a hurried and impassioned music. It's clearly the sound of a zither, but in Mu Yan's ears, it seems as if there are thousands of troops and horses galloping, and billowing waves of a river. The blood in her body is stirred up by this music for no reason. Mu Yan's cheeks are flushed, and there is a scarlet luster flickering in her eyes. At the same time, on the walls of the cave, countless swords begin to fly towards her from all directions. Mu Yan's figure flashes quickly like a phantom, easily avoiding the flying swords. However, as the music becomes more and more urgent, the number of flying swords also increases, and the speed is also getting faster and faster. If at the beginning, the flying swords were only 7 or 8 profound stage cultivators raising their swords at her. But later on, it's dozens of earth stage cultivators attacking her at the same time. Even with Mu Yan's cultivation, she is still somewhat strained, and cold sweat breaks out on her forehead. However, the most frightening thing is not this. The most frightening thing is that, as the music becomes more and more urgent, Mu Yan feels her heart beating faster and faster. Her originally clear eyes also start to blur into a fantasy. One moment, her stomach is being cut open, and the bloody placenta is being dug out. The next moment, Gong Qinxue is holding Xiao Bao, and throwing him into the furnace. One moment, she was in a pitch-black cave. That terrifying man was pressing her under his body. The scorching hot rolling and tearing pain made her want to immediately faint. The light and shadow changed, and Xiao Bao fell from the high cliff again. He could only watch helplessly as Xiao Bao fell into a pool of blood and flesh. Whoosh! The sword chi finally cuts through Mu Yan's clothes, and blood spurts out. An intense pain comes from her arm, but it also makes Mayan suddenly wake up from the illusion. Gritting her teeth, she observed the surroundings of the cave while nimbly dodging the flying swords. Finally, when the level of the flying swords slowly increased to the level of nearly 100 heaven-rank ancient martial artists' attacks, she finally found the source of all the attacks. It was a grey zither that was stuck high up on the wall. It was not eye-catching at all. If one did not look carefully, it would be impossible to discover its existence. However, this inconspicuous zither was actually plucking the strings on its own, producing music. The music reverberated in the cave. When it came into contact with dodging, it immediately turned into sword chi and attacked her. Mayan clenches her teeth. She steps on the wall and soars up. She quickly grabs a vine hanging down from the top of the cave. The dark force in his body revolved and struck the zither. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.